Nie Yunzhuo's spiritual power barrier is impenetrable, but Jiang Fan tells him not to hold back. A secret from the sect master is about to be revealed in the auction house. Leave a like and subscribe to join the sect. Nie Yunzhuo wore a sneer on his face. Considering you have the guts to step onto the platform, I'll let you have 3 moves. As he spoke, his spiritual power surged out, surrounding the area. The formidable cultivation at the 7th layer of foundation establishment formed a barrier of spiritual power. With opponents of lower strength, even if he stood still, they couldn't touch him. Jiang Fan remained expressionless and said calmly, "It's best if you use your full strength." Nie Yunzhuo laughed heartily. "Use full strength against you? Are you looking down on me, or are you trying to make yourself look better? Even if I let you have 10 or 100 moves, it wouldn't make a difference. Only letting you have 3 moves already shows how narrow-minded I am." Having said that, Jiang Fan shook his head and said, "Very well, then make sure your bones are tough enough." As soon as he finished speaking, he didn't even use his spiritual power. Like an arrow, he leaped towards Nie Yunzhuo, relying solely on his formidable physique, combined with a high-level, profound body technique. Heavenly Battle 9 forms. Crushing Mountain. As the first form among the 9, its power was the lowest. But combined with his copper skin iron bone, the explosive force was extremely violent. Bang, just one punch. The spiritual power barrier around Nie Yunzhuo shattered like smoke upon impact. The fist struck directly at Nie Yunzhuo's abdomen. Blearg, the sudden and powerful blow left Nie Yunzhuo with no time to react, and he was hit. The intense pain twisted his stomach into knots. His body curled up in pain, vomiting large amounts of filth. This scene stunned everyone present. Chen Silin's beautiful eyes widened as she tugged on Su Yoren's sleeve. "Yoren, did I see it right? Jiang Fan injured Nie Yunzhuo without even using spiritual power." Su Yoren was also incredibly shocked, but recalling Jiang Fan's previous beast hunting achievements, she suddenly understood. No wonder Fan is so powerful. He must have practiced a powerful body refinement technique. Standing not far away, Nie Yunxi, who had been watching Jiang Fan closely, fearing that Nie Yunzhuo would injure him heavily, also widened her eyes. Did she see it wrong? Jiang Fan had such a strong body technique. Behind the rockery, Xianxia looked amazed. Wow! No wonder this kid dares to challenge the 7th layer of foundation establishment. He was hiding an excellent body technique. Being able to refine the body technique to this level is rare even in the giant sect. He glanced at Li Qingfeng, hesitating to speak. Li Qingfeng, on the other hand, looked ashamed, a bit regretful. "I didn't even notice he was a good candidate for body refinement techniques. If I had known, I would have taken him in." Xianxia sighed. "Forget it. Our peak doesn't excel at teaching body techniques. Even if you took him in, it would be a waste of talent. Go call a stop to this. This child's body technique is rare. Don't let him fall at your disciples' hands." Li Qingfeng quickly replied, "Yes." Despite Jiang Fan's astonishing body technique, no one thought he could truly compete against Nie Yunzhuo. Just now, it was merely Nie Yunzhuo being careless. Once he collected himself, Jiang Fan would be in serious trouble. As expected, Nie Yunzhuo wiped the grime from his lips, his face full of anger. He was humiliated and furious. Trying to humiliate Jiang Fan backfired, and he got injured by Jiang Fan. "You!" Nie Yunzhuo pointed at Jiang Fan, about to berate him. But he realized it was he who boasted about letting Jiang Fan have 3 moves, and he fell silent. Jiang Fan said calmly, "I told you it's best if you use your full strength. If you let me have any more moves, I won't be polite." Nie Yunzhuo laughed angrily. "You just took advantage of my carelessness. Do you really think you're that powerful? Fine. Let me show you the power of the 7th layer of foundation establishment." He no longer held back. Spiritual power surged out, and his first move was a medium-level profound palm technique. Falling geese palm. Jiang Fan no longer held back either. Cloud shattering. Bang, a dull sound rang out under this palm. The two were evenly matched. This greatly shocked Nie Yunzhuo. How is this possible? He used his full strength, yet Jiang Fan easily met his attack. Nie Yunxi's eyes widened. "When my brother gets serious, he can't even overpower him. How is this possible?" Outside the rockery, Li Qingfeng, who was about to step forward and stop the fight, stood still as if he'd seen a ghost. Xianxia's old eyes widened. "No way, this kid's body technique is that strong. Just with a body technique, he could match the 7th layer of foundation establishment. Even the giant sect doesn't have many such disciples." Once again, he glanced at Li Qingfeng. This time, he couldn't help but criticize. "You really missed a great talent." Li Qingxian looked embarrassed, feeling even more regretful that he hadn't checked if Jiang Fan had talent for body refinement. On the platform, Nie Yunzhuo was shocked. The imagined scene of crushing Jiang Fan, stepping on his head and greatly humiliating him wasn't as easy as he thought. He became serious. Sky-shaking palm. Jiang Fan continued to make moves. Each move was stronger than the last. Shattering cloud, shocking thunder, wind breaking. On the contrary, Nie Yunzhuo only had 3 palm techniques. Facing Jiang Fan, who was getting stronger and stronger, he panicked and kept thinking it was impossible. But reality was cruel. Jiang Fan's 8th form struck his chest forcefully. Spurt, the vigorous palm force instantly injured his organs, causing him to spit blood and fly backward. The bout ended. Jiang Fan, complete victory. The surroundings went silent, only the sounds of distant birds twittering. Nie Yunxi's mind went blank. Her disciple, the genius of the 7th layer of foundation establishment, was defeated by Jiang Fan, who had no spirit root. Was she dreaming? Su Yoren and Chen Silin's eyes were full of little stars, their faces filled with pride. This was their man, not a sound for a long time, but when he made one, it amazed everyone. Behind the rockery, Li Qingxian was a little doubtful. He completely defeated my disciple. Nie Yunzhuo was his prized disciple and an old disciple. Yet Jiang Fan was just a newbie disciple. But in their bout, it was a one-sided crushing. For a moment, he couldn't distinguish who was the old disciple and who was the newbie. Xianxia was amazed. Damn. Liu Wuchen seemed pretty straightforward, but he had a hidden strategy. I wondered why he accepted a disciple without a spirit root. Turns out he had long known that although this kid had no spirit root, he was a top-notch body refinement genius. That's why he quietly took him in, Li Qingxian suddenly realized. He couldn't help but blame. What a deceptive move. If we hadn't accidentally found out today, we would have been fooled by him. He stared at Jiang Fan with displeasure. Given his talent, why didn't he mention it before? If he had said it, would they have left him in the plaza? I'll call him over for questioning. At this moment, there was a change on the platform. Jiang Fan looked indifferently at Nie Yunzhuo, who was spitting blood on the ground, and said, "In consideration of you being on the same peak as my 2 wives, I'll spare you today. I hope you have enough self-awareness to stop bothering them." After speaking, he walked towards Su Yoren and Chen Silin with his hands behind his back. Nie Yunzhuo was filled with immense humiliation. Not only had he failed to teach Jiang Fan a lesson, but he had been taught a lesson by Jiang Fan. For what reason? For what reason? A fierce glint flashed in his eyes. Taking advantage of Jiang Fan's turn back, he suddenly jumped up and struck at his back, roaring sinisterly, "Die!" Jiang Fan had long been on guard against him. His eyes turned cold, and he was no longer holding back. He turned around and unleashed the ultimate strike of the heavenly battle 9 forms. Sky opening, crack, a punch and a palm did not collide with a fierce sound. Under Jiang Fan's full use of body techniques, the spiritual power in Nie Yunzhuo's palm was instantly dispersed. The overwhelming strength struck his palm, surged into his arm, and crushed his arm bones inch by inch. The sound of dry wood breaking echoed continuously. Ah! Nie Yunzhuo fell heavily to the ground, the pain of his broken bones gradually spreading, causing him to scream like a slaughtered pig. "My hand! Hiss my hand!" He writhed on the ground in agony, his face pale and his features contorted in pain. "Yunzhuo!" Everything happened too quickly. Nie Yunxi couldn't even stop it in time. She quickly ran over, seeing her brother in such a miserable state. Her heart ached as if twisted. She lifted her head fiercely and scolded, "How could you be so ruthless?" Jiang Fan's expression was emotionless. "Your brother attacked first. Are you selectively blind, pretending not to see?" Nie Yunxi bit her silver teeth. She had nothing to say. Jiang Fan was certainly ruthless, but her brother had attacked first and got injured. No matter where they went, they wouldn't be able to justify it. However, Nie Yunzhuo was unwilling. He clutched his broken arm, shouting grimly, "Sis, break his arm too. Break both of them. If not, I'll die, I'll die." Nie Yunxi soothed. "Yunzhuo, don't be like this. Let's treat your wounds first." "I don't care," Nie Yunzhuo screamed. "If you don't help me, I'll bash my head and die, leaving the Nie family without descendants." He threatened to bash his head against the stone block beside him. Nie Yunxi felt sorry for her brother. Helplessly, she gritted her teeth and glared at Jiang Fan, scolding, "My brother may have been wrong, but you hit too hard. I think it's time to teach you a lesson so you understand the difference between light and heavy." She suddenly released her terrifying foundation establishment 8th layer strength. Behind the fake mountain, Xianxia's eyes showed astonishment. This kid had been holding back all this time. Liu Wuchen really has a sharp eye. I even admire how he picked this kid. Then looking at Nie Yunzhuo, his eyes slightly narrowed. The talent is indeed excellent, but the temperament is truly worrying. Li Qingfeng's face had long turned ashen. Losing was losing. His disciple Li Qingfeng losing was not shameful. But a sneak attack from behind, attacking such a vital area as the back, simply made him lose face and the entire heavenly sword peak's face. Moreover, it happened right in front of the Supreme Elder. I'll confine him for 3 years. He is not allowed to step out of the chamber, Li Qingfeng said viciously. Xianxia nodded slightly. With his usual temperament, a disciple like Nie Yunzhuo would have been kicked out long ago. There would be no chance for confinement and reflection. Unfortunately, Heavenly Sword Peak now lacked talent like it did in the past. Reforming one was something. After glancing at the aggressive Nie Yunxi, he waved his hand and said, "Let this female disciple reflect for a few days as well." How shameless! Her brother failed in a sneak attack and got injured, yet she had the nerve to step in. Li Qingfeng was greatly humiliated by the siblings. He walked over with annoyance. "Get back here!" Suddenly, Xianxia shouted at him, his old eyes staring intently at Jiang Fan on the platform. "Did you say he has no spirit root?" Li Qingfeng looked, finding that spiritual power also surrounded Jiang Fan. He was unsurprised, just an elevated realm through potential overload. Potential overload. Xianxia was stunned, filled with confusion. "Let's assess the situation before stepping in." On the platform, Nie Yunxi immediately performed half a set of high-level, profound-level finger techniques. Cloud shuttle finger. She couldn't believe Jiang Fan's body technique could be so heaven-defying, enduring a move from the Foundation Establishment 8th layer. However, what surprised Nie Yunxi was, Jiang Fan no longer used his body technique. Instead, spiritual energy swirled around his body and he performed a strange palm technique. Shocking dragon? As he launched twin punches, it was like dragons leaping out of the ocean in thunder and lightning. Carrying resounding dragon roars, they violently collided with Nie Yunxi's cloud shuttle finger. Swoosh, 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 both retreated a few steps. Nie Yunxi was extremely shocked. "You!" Jiang Fan could actually fight her to a standstill. How was this possible? She was at the Foundation Establishment 8th layer, ranking in the top 20 of the sect. How could Jiang Fan, a disciple with no spirit root, be on par with her in strength, though she had not used her full strength? But Jiang Fan may not have gone all out either. Sitting on the ground, Nie Yunzhuo was greatly shocked. His greatest reliance was his highly talented sister, but she could not defeat Jiang Fan. Looking at Jiang Fan again, his eyes finally showed a hint of fear. No longer did he have contempt. Behind the fake mountain, Li Qingfeng, like a statue, stood unmoving, staring at the platform, his gaze blank. Even Xianxia couldn't help but gasp. Foundation Establishment 7th layer. Let me ask you again, is this kid really without a spirit root? Li Qingfeng was dumbstruck, affirming, "The test results indeed showed he has no spirit root. But how could his progress be so fast? The last time he fought, he was only at the Foundation Establishment 3rd layer. In just half a month, he rose to the Foundation Establishment 7th layer? Ah, Xianxia was shocked. What did you say? Half a month ago, he was at the Foundation Establishment 3rd layer. What kind of monstrosity hadn't he seen? But rising 4 realms in half a month, unheard of. Li Qingfeng was also bewildered. What kind of potential overloading method did he use? It's too bizarre. Slap, Xianxia smacked the back of his head, scolding. Is your brain rusty? Can a potential overloading method make someone go from the 1st layer of Qi cultivation all the way to the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment? I've been all over the place and seen countless people using potential overload, but few could break through to Foundation Establishment, let alone advancing to the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment in one go. Ah, Li Qingfeng was stunned, incredulous. Could all my assumptions have been wrong all along? Xianxia snapped. Nonsense. If there were such a powerful potential overloading method, would our green Cloud Sect still have a place in this world? Li Qingfeng was immediately scared. Indeed, if such a powerful potential overloading method existed, the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment disciples would be everywhere. Those prodigies wouldn't be staying in the green Cloud Sect for further training. Yet he was even more puzzled. So if it's not potential overload and he has no spirit root, how does he keep breaking through realms? Xianxia squinted his eyes, stroking his beard and pondering for a long while. There's one possibility. That is, his spirit root is so strong it exceeds the magic artifact's detection limit, hence appearing as no spirit root. Only this can explain why his cultivation seems divinely aided. Li Qingfeng muttered, remembering a term. You mean he has the infinite spirit root? Legend has it that the infinite spirit root is extremely rare in the world. A super spirit root with limitless potential. Xianxia took a deep breath and said, "That's the only plausible explanation. Our green Cloud Sect actually has such a prodigy and ruler. One day, it will be hard for our sect not to prosper greatly." His face twitched with excitement at his discovery. Immediately, he felt a bit regretful. What a pity you didn't choose him initially, giving Liu Qingxian such a huge advantage. At this moment, he noticed Li Qingfeng looking very uncomfortable. He patted his shoulder and consoled. "You just misjudged. But the one who led him into the sect and then left him on the plaza for Liu Qingxian to pick must be ashamed to death." He laughed gleefully. "Missing out on the infinite spirit root, ha ha ha. Qingfeng, quickly tell me which peak's clueless elder did this. I need to share this news with their supreme elder and make him half dead from rage, ha ha." Hearing this, Li Qingfeng was petrified. "That big idiot is no one else, it's me. Speak up." Xianxia rolled up his sleeves and laughed heartily. "Quick, tell me which peak they're from. I will go to their supreme elder right now. I can laugh them to death. Ha ha ha." Xianxia just returned to the sect and encountered such an amusing thing. He was in high spirits. In his mind, the image of the other peak's supreme elder, hopping mad after realizing they missed out on an infinite spirit root, made him giggle. From now on, that supreme elder wouldn't be able to lift his head among us old fellows. Li Qingfeng's face was stiff as he stammered. He is." Xianxia frowned. "What's wrong with you? Is this elder familiar with you? Are you afraid of their supreme elder's punishment?" Then he patted his chest confidently, saying, "Don't worry, I will stop them. I guarantee they won't be punished." Li Qingfeng cautiously looked at him. "Master, are you sure you won't punish them?" Xianxia said irritably. "Don't you know me by now? I'm a man of my word. If I say they won't be punished, they won't." Thus, Li Qingfeng gathered all his courage and said, "That elder is me." Xianxia froze, staring at Li Qingfeng without blinking. He seemed to doubt his own hearing. Li Qingfeng, a bit scared, stammered, "Jiang Fan is the one I brought back from Lonely Boat City. Because he didn't show any spirit root, I left him in the square. Master, it's not that I'm blind. Who would have thought that such a small place like Lonely Boat City would have an infinite spirit root?" Xianxia felt the world spinning, staggering, and almost falling. His face turned pale and his hands kept trembling. He murmured, "You mean the one who missed the infinite spirit root is our heavenly sword peak?" Li Qingfeng nodded with his neck shrunk. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Xianxia's throat, forming a misty blood spray. So it turns out, the clown was himself. Li Qingfeng was startled and hurriedly supported him, panicking, "Master, don't scare me." His mind was in chaos. He had just made his recently returned master so angry that he vomited blood. He didn't dare to get closer. As soon as he got closer, Xianxia's anger surged, and he slapped him, roaring, "You bastard!" In his fury, he cursed. The powerful force instantly blasted Li Qingfeng away, crashing into a rockery. The thick rockery shattered into pieces, scattering everywhere. Cough, cough. Li Qingfeng's mouth was full of blood as he looked at the furious Xianxia who wanted to continue hitting him. He hurriedly said, Master, you just said you wouldn't punish me." Xianxia, with a long face, began punching and kicking him, yelling, "If I don't punish you, I will die of anger. Bastard, blind fool. I'll beat you to death." Pitiful Li Qingfeng was beaten black and blue, his mouth full of blood. Jiang Fan and the others were dumbfounded watching this. The dignified head of a peak was being beaten by a scruffy old man without daring to fight back. Jiang Fan shuddered. He immediately realized the old man's identity. He must be the Supreme Elder of Heavenly Sword Peak. Not daring to linger, he quickly grabbed Su Yoren and Chen Silin, trying to sneak away quietly. But they hadn't walked far. Xianxia shouted to him, "Boy, did I let you go?" Jiang Fan shivered. "You're hitting someone, what does that have to do with me?" He stopped nervously and cupped his hands. Sect Master Peak Jiang Fan greets the senior. "Does the senior have any instructions?" Xianxia left Li Qingfeng behind and walked up to Jiang Fan. He looked him over closely. For a moment he felt both love and hate. He loved that Jiang Fan had such an extraordinary spirit root. He hated that he had slipped away from Heavenly Sword Peak. Staring for a while, he snorted through his nose. "Go back and tell that old bastard Liu Qingxian that I will hold him accountable for this." Huh. A big question mark popped up over Jiang Fan's head. Does Master have a grudge against this Supreme Elder? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but worry about Su Yoren and Chen Silin's situation. He clasped his hands again. "Yes, Senior." After a pause, he braced himself and said, "If Senior has any complaints about me, please direct them at me. Please don't make it difficult for my two wives." Xianxia was surprised. He nodded secretly. He knew Jiang Fan couldn't afford to provoke him, yet he still pleaded for his 2 wives. That counted as being loyal and righteous. On second thought, even though Heavenly Sword Peak missed out on the infinite spirit route, his 2 treasured wives were at Heavenly Sword Peak. Taking good care of them might forge a connection. When he achieved great success in cultivation in the future, how could he not remember this favor? Thinking this, he felt much better. With a grand gesture, he threw 2 expensive heavenly materials and earthly treasures to Su Yoren and Chen Silin. A little gift, take it. Ah, Su Yoren and Chen Silin caught them in surprise. Being smart, they guessed that this person must be the Supreme Elder of Heavenly Sword Peak, Xianxia. Meeting him and immediately receiving gifts made them feel greatly honored. Thank you, Supreme Elder, the 2 girls hastily saluted. However, what shocked them even more was, Xianxia stroked his beard and said, "From today, I will personally guide you in your cultivation." What? The 2 girls were so shocked they couldn't close their mouths. After coming to their senses, they quickly and happily knelt down. In the distance, Nie Yunzhuo was stunned. The Supreme Elder just returned and gave gifts to Su Yoren and Chen Silin. That would have been enough, but he also wanted to personally guide them. As the senior disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak, the Supreme Elder hadn't even spared her a glance. Why? Was she really worse than them? Jiang Fan was also shocked. He didn't understand why the Supreme Elder took such care of Su Yoren and Chen Silin. But after a little thought, he realized this was a good thing. With the Supreme Elder looking after them, not to mention Nie Yunzhuo and his sister, no one in Heavenly Sword Peak would dare mess with them in the future. Thank you, Senior. This disciple will forever remember your great favor. Jiang Fan didn't know how to express his gratitude. After all, he was dealing with the Supreme Elder. What could he want? But little did he know, Xianxia wanted just these words. He laughed and patted Jiang Fan on the shoulder. Your best gratitude is to cultivate diligently. Okay, I'll go meet the other old fellows now. You handle things here, King Feng. If anything goes wrong again, I'll kill you. He angrily glared at Li Qingfeng, who shivered. Nie Yunzhuo, supporting Nie Yunzhuo with a face full of grievances, walked over. Master, my brother's arm is broken. This Jiang Fan hit too hard. Her not speaking would have been better. As soon as she spoke, Li Qingfeng was furious. If it weren't for their bullying, would Jiang Fan have exposed his strength and then been discovered by the Supreme Elder? How dare they still feel wronged? He immediately roared shameful things. Nie Yunzhuo, 3 years in confinement for deep reflection. Nie Yunzhuo, you also go into confinement for a month. Nie Yunzhuo's face froze. Then she realized that what she and her brother did on the arena was seen by Li Qingfeng. She immediately lowered her head in shame, daring not to complain, pulling Nie Yunzhuo along as they left. After calming his anger, Li Qingfeng looked at Su Yoren and Chen Silin. He couldn't help but find them more pleasing to the eye. You go cultivate in my secret room where the spiritual energy is more abundant. Su Yoren and Chen Silin were overjoyed. Seeing that Li Qingfeng had something to discuss alone with Jiang Fan, they sensibly took their leave. In the end, only Jiang Fan and Li Qingfeng were left. Complex emotions filled Li Qingfeng's gaze as he looked at Jiang Fan and sighed. Let's not talk about what's between us. I want to tell you something. About Su Yining. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment. He had a bad premonition in his heart. Could it be that something happened to Su Yining? What happened to her? Jiang Fan asked. Li Qingfeng looked regretful and sighed. Su Yining bid farewell to me yesterday and went out to travel. Travel. Alone, Jiang Fan couldn't help but worry. She was not very strong and her appearance was extremely beautiful. How dangerous it must be for her to be out there alone. Is Peak Master Li at ease with this? Jiang Fan asked in surprise. Logically, Li Qingfeng couldn't have agreed. Whether Su Yining could come back alive was hard to say. Li Qingfeng looked at Jiang Fan with a hint of reproach. Since returning from the Holy Hall, she hasn't touched a drop of water for several days. If I didn't let her go, she would have trapped herself. Jiang Fan was shocked. That day, Su Yining watched as Su Yoren and Chen Silin, who followed Jiang Fan, one caught up to him and the other surpassed him. All her former pride was shattered. She was always strong-willed and suffered a heavy blow. Her spirit fell into despair. Leaving the green Cloud Sect, traveling outside, maybe it could help her let go. Li Qingfeng looked at Jiang Fan with a touch of inquiry. Jiang Fan, can't you accept her again? Who hasn't made mistakes? After all, Su Yining was his disciple. He couldn't bear to see her suffer. He still wanted to find a good place for his disciple. Jiang Fan clasped his hands and said, Peak Master Li, you misunderstand. I never blamed her. I agreed to end the engagement back then. It is she who is obsessed and cannot let go. As for accepting her or not, I think marriage should be based on mutual feelings. If there is no fate with her, what good is forcing it? Upon hearing this, Li Qingfeng sighed. Knowing Su Yining's current predicament, he couldn't blame Jiang Fan. He nodded lightly and said, "All right then, the matters of you young ones, resolve them yourselves. However, if one day you encounter her and she is in trouble, please, for the sake of her being my disciple, help her." Jiang Fan nodded and agreed. Even if not for Li Qingfeng, for the sake of Su Yoren and Su Zhengyan, he would also help Su Yining. The premise being she needed help, Sect Master Peak, a tightly guarded side hall. Liu Wuchen was carefully supporting an old man with a bloodless face. His eye sockets were deeply sunken and dark, his breath irregular and chaotic. He looked somewhat weak, but Liu Wuchen was extremely respectful, because he was the supreme elder of Sect Master Peak, also the previous Sect Master. With his strong support, Liu Wuchen finally succeeded in ascending to the position of Sect Master. "Divine Dr. Shangyuan, how is my master?" Liu Wuchen worriedly asked Shangyuan Sheng, who was beside him. Just now, the Supreme Elder had come out of seclusion, extremely weak, barely holding on. He urgently called for Shangyuan Sheng and quickly summoned Liu Qingxian back, to prepare for any eventuality. Shangyuan Sheng nodded slightly. The old sect master is temporarily fine. However, his long-standing injuries are still there. Unless completely eradicated, they will eventually take his life. It turned out that back before he had abdicated, he had a great battle with the previous sect master of the giant sect. He was accidentally injured in the dark, his heart and lungs severely damaged, and he still hadn't recovered. Liu Wuchen bowed and said, "Divine Dr. Shangyuan, please heal my master. I will be greatly thankful." Shangyuan Sheng helplessly said, "My master, the undying doctor, had treated the old sect master back then. He was at a loss. What can I do? This injury can only be stabilized." Liu Wuchen sighed heavily in his heart. Why had the great elder repeatedly challenged his authority over the years? The significant reason was that the old sect master's health was often poor and unpredictable. Otherwise, if the old sect master had remained in his prime, would the great elder dare to act so presumptuously? At this moment, the old sect master, Zhuang Yunian, spoke hoarsely, "Do not make things difficult for divine Dr. Shangyuan. I have limited time left. It's useless to force it. This time, I forced myself out of seclusion just to use my remaining strength to protect the green Cloud Sect for the last stretch." The news of the beast tide had stirred up all the Supreme Elders. Some returned and some came out of seclusion. Liu Wuchen and Liu Qingxian remained silent, their hearts filled with sorrow. Zhuang Yunian's words showed that his time was indeed running out. But the beast tide is ahead, and my body is still weak. Divine Dr. Shangyuan, is there any prescription that can stimulate my potential and temporarily restore me to my peak? Zhuang Yunian's eyes were filled with hope. In his current state, he could not help Sect Master Peak much, let alone protect the Green Cloud Sect. If he could return to his peak, he would still have some use. Shangyuan Sheng stroked his beard and pondered, looking troubled. There is indeed such a prescription, but the medicine that boosts potential must be extremely aggressive and harmful. Afterward, the old sect master's body might decay faster. This is not the best strategy. It doesn't matter. Zhuang Yunian didn't mind at all. Though his voice was weak, his will was strong and firm. If my body is already failing, I would rather die in battle. Shangyuan Sheng couldn't help but be moved. Without another word, he wrote a prescription and handed it to Zhuang Yunian. Zhuang Yunian took it, and it was full of extremely rare treasures. Liu Wuchen leaned in to look and frowned deeply. These, I might barely gather one set from the 9th sect. But this beast whip from the Demon Emperor's lineage, I'm afraid it's impossible to find. Divine Dr. Shangyuan, can this be replaced with other medicinal ingredients? The currently known Demon Emperor's lineage was the initiator of this beast tide. Kill his offspring to seize the beast whip. Who could do that? Shangyuan Sheng shook his head. This is the most important main ingredient. It cannot be replaced. Everyone in the room fell silent. This prescription was like an impossible dream, unattainable. Zhuang Yunian banged his leg in guilt and sighed to the sky. It's all my fault for being too pedantic back then, letting that insidious guy from the giant sect take advantage. It's one thing if I suffer, but I also implicated Sect Master Peak and the entire Green Cloud Sect. Seeing him so remorseful, Shangyuan Sheng also sighed softly. Suddenly he thought of something and couldn't help but smile. Old Sect Master, why worry about the future generations? Your sect has such an outstanding disciple. In 10 years' time, Sect Master Peak will surely soar high, prominent overall. He thought of Jiang Fan. Such a stunning medical prodigy, once he grew up, would surely become a figure who could shake the entire Nine Sect with his mere presence. Just like the undying doctor once did. With him at Sect Master Peak, who among the other 8 peaks would dare to compete? Zhuang Yunian looked at Liu Wuchen in surprise, as if to ask, do we have such an impressive disciple? Shang Yuansheng's standards were very high, and he rarely praised anyone easily. Liu Qingxian had performed quite well, right? She had recently beaten Nangong Xiaoan. But when Shang Yuansheng saw her earlier, he just gave a lukewarm, not bad compliment. The disciple he spoke of as outstanding belonged to Sect Master Peak. If there was such a disciple, why hadn't Liu Wuchen mentioned it? Liu Wuchen looked confused and said, Divine Dr. Shang Yuan, are you mistaken? Do I have such an impressive disciple? How come I don't know? Shang Yuansheng froze. How could he make a mistake? Wasn't Jiang Fan a disciple of Sect Master Peak? That exquisite medical skill, he had personally witnessed it. Such a prodigy in the medical path, given time, would be unrivaled in the world. Catching up to the fame of his former master wouldn't be difficult. Isn't he? Suddenly, Shang Yuansheng understood. Liu Wuchen was pretending to be foolish. He didn't want to reveal his disciple's infinite potential too early. To avoid arousing envy, he couldn't help but laugh. You're really good at hiding things. If I hadn't seen it myself, I would have been fooled by you. Fine, you don't want to talk about it. I'll keep the secret for you. Since the old sect master's condition has improved, I will take my leave. He swept his sleeves and left, leaving everyone in the room dumbfounded. Zhuang Yunian asked suspiciously, Wuchen, do you really have such an impressive disciple hidden away? Liu Wuchen cried and laughed. These years I have been driven to the brink by Feng Guchen. If I really had such an impressive disciple, wouldn't I have brought him out to stabilize the situation long ago? That's true. But why did Shang Yuansheng say that? Liu Qingxian frowned. Could it be that Shang Yuansheng was talking about Jiang Fan? Thinking back to Paradise Building last time, where Xia Caoj respectfully called Jiang Fan uncle. The more she thought about it, the more likely it seemed. But why Shang Yuansheng was from the medical path? Even if he discovered Jiang Fan's infinite spirit root, there was no reason to address him as a brother, right? She furrowed her brows tightly, muttering, Does this guy have other secrets I don't know about? Meanwhile, Zhuang Yunian pondered for a long while but couldn't figure it out. So he shook his head. Forget it, let's not worry about it and try to gather the ingredients first. As for the other medicinal materials, Wuchen, you can send people to other sects to search. As for the beast whip from the Demon Emperor's bloodline, I'll go to the city myself. I've been in seclusion for years, it's good to get some exercise. Liu Wuchen worried. What's the need? I'll send people to look for it. The old sect master was still weak. What if something happened? Zhuang Yunian glared at him angrily. Do you want the whole world to know that I'm looking for a beast whip? Those who knew like the 3 of them understood that the old sect master sought the beast whip for refining medicine. But those who didn't might think he was revitalizing in his old age, trying to regain his vigor. Because the primary use of a beast whip was for that aspect. Liu Qingxian blushed quietly and looked away. Liu Wuchen also rubbed his nose. This item was indeed not suitable for external hands. If the word got out, who knows what rumors might spread. The old sect master's lifetime reputation would be gone, speaking of Jiang Fan. After leaving Heavenly Sword Peak, he ran into Wen Shengnan coming down from Medicine Peak. Seeing someone, she instinctively hid a bundle behind her back. Realizing it was Jiang Fan, she relaxed and said, Junior brother Jiang. Jiang Fan looked puzzled. What are you doing? Why so sneaky? Wen Shengnan said embarrassedly, I took some medicinal materials from my aunt and planned to exchange them for crystal stones at the dark market. What kind of medicinal materials needed to be sold at the dark market? The dark market was full of things that couldn't see the light of day. He looked skeptical. When Shengnan feared Jiang Fan would misunderstand and revealed a corner of the bundle, showing dried beast whips from demon beasts. Recently, a lot of people gathered in Green Cloud City. With many men, the demand for this thing is high and it sells for a good price. Please don't laugh at me, junior brother Jiang. She awkwardly packed up the bundle and said goodbye. I'll take my leave now, there are more customers since it's dark. Wait, Jiang Fan thought, take me with you. The parts he had taken from the white crystal beast, only the giant beast whip was left. Few needed this item. Moreover, it was not suitable for public auction. After all, everyone knew what this item was for. Whoever bought it implied that they were lacking, right? As men who would admit they had issues, daring to buy it publicly would be a joke. So the dark market was the best place to sell it. Sure. When Shengnan was eager to have more contact with Jiang Fan, agreed happily, Follow me. She led Jiang Fan to Green Cloud City. After leaving the main road, they walked through winding and dark alleys. They walked for a long time. Finally, they emerged into a long alley where dim lantern light flickered with shadows of people. There are actually quite a few people. Jiang Fan was surprised. With a rough count, there were at least 100 buyers. There were more than 10 stalls on the ground. The items sold were all shady pills, cultivation techniques, and heavenly materials and earthly treasures. There were even some forbidden and evil magic artifacts. Wen Shengnan, familiar with the place, found a corner and spread out a clean blanket. She opened the bundle and laid out 20 beast whips. As soon as she set up shop, a well-dressed middle-aged man quietly approached. He glanced at the beast whips, nodded in satisfaction. Without speaking, he pointed at the beast whips and then at himself, meaning he wanted it and asked for the price. Wen Shengnan understood and silently held up 2 fingers. The middle-aged man wasted no time, took out 200 crystal stones, placed them on the stall, grabbed a beast whip and left quickly. It all happened silently. Jiang Fan stared at the 200 luminous crystal stones in amazement. 200! This was just an ordinary demon beast's beast whip. At most, it was worth 20 crystal stones. Yet that man didn't bargain and bought it at 10 times the price. When Shengnan happily packed the crystal stones, sharing her trade secret, 200 is quite fair. Those who buy this item are in a rush and don't care about the price. And they're mostly unscrupulous old men. Making a killing off them is doing a service to the martial path realm. Jiang Fan slowly nodded. He took out the beast whip from the white crystal beast. Compared to ordinary demon beast whips, it was 5 times bigger and contained much more essence. When Shengnan looked and exclaimed, "So big, could it be a beast king-level beast whip?" Jiang Fan nodded, "Exactly, from the white crystal beast." "What, that demon emperor bloodline beast?" Her voice trailed off. Because in the silent alley, her exclamation was like shocking thunder. The whole dark market could hear it. All eyes turned towards them. Beast King, Demon Emperor Bloodline, these words alone were thrilling. Immediately, the stall was surrounded by layers of people, all curious about the King of Whips. When Shengnan was also shocked, blushing as she asked, "Junior brother Jiang, eating this thing, wouldn't it cause serious trouble?" She couldn't imagine how potent the effects would be. Jiang Fan's mouth twitched. "How would I know? I don't use this thing." At this moment, a customer, after careful inspection, showed a hint of desire, secretly making a gesture to ask the price. Jiang Fan thought. This item was worth about 20,000 crystal stones. But in the dark market, tripling the price would be reasonable, right? He held up a hand. 50,000. The potential buyer clicked his tongue and walked away. The surrounding customers shook their heads and dispersed. When Shengnan looked aghast, 50,000, who would be crazy enough to buy that? They buy beast whips just for a night of pleasure. Unless they encounter a goddess descending to earth, they wouldn't spend so much. Jiang Fan looked bemused, only then realizing his business strategy was flawed. Just then, an excited elderly voice called, 50,000, I'll take it. The newcomer was none other than Zhuang Yunian. He was just casually strolling through this familiar dark market. He didn't have any hopes, but incredulously, there actually was someone selling beast whip. And it was a king-level demon emperor bloodline beast whip. This was even more potent than a regular demon emperor bloodline beast whip. What a heaven-sent fortune. There was hope for the prescription. Jiang Fan looked up. It was a round-faced old man with gray hair and beard, with a green mole on his forehead, looking like a bodhisattva from the temple at first glance. In fact, he really was a living bodhisattva. He was fretting about having no buyers. He was about to nod immediately, but then remembered Wen Shengnan's black market secret. Don't be polite with impatient customers. Seeing this old man so excited, he must be eager to buy, and despite his age, he was still so improper. So Jiang Fan didn't hold back and started bargaining from a high price. He raised 7 fingers. 70,000? Zhuang Yunian, seeing Jiang Fan raise the price temporarily, immediately frowned. Was he being taken for a fool? But thinking about this beast whip, this was the only one in the entire 9-sect land. 70,000 crystal stones was an exorbitant price, but he had no choice. He was about to pay immediately. My God, he'd buy at 70,000? How eager was this old man? Jiang Fan's eyes flashed and he requoted, crossing 2 fingers to form a cross. 100,000? Zhuang Yunian, with a voice full of authority despite no anger, rebuked. Young man, this isn't how you do business. Who keeps raising the price on the spot? Jiang Fan pouted. Take it or leave it. Squeak, Zhuang Yunian ground his remaining few old teeth. With his status, he could afford 100,000 crystal stones. He was also willing to pay such a price for a beast whip with a demon emperor bloodline that was hard to find in the world. But Jiang Fan's act of raising the price on the spot infuriated him. Buying it made him feel like a fool. Not buying, there was no other place. After struggling for a while, he finally took out a palm-sized jade plaque with a sour face. Spirit light shimmered on it, and the front was engraved with the number 100,000. "Take it!" He threw it onto the stall. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment. What was this? Wen Shengnin's face changed. She quickly wrapped the Beast King beast whip, offered it with both hands respectfully, and said, "Senior, please take it." Zhuang Yunian grabbed it and gave Jiang Fan a fierce glare, snorting through his nostrils as he left. Jiang Fan hurriedly said, "You haven't given." Wen Shengnin quickly grabbed him and said, "Isn't this money?" She picked up the jade plaque on the stall, full of astonishment. "This is a crystal token unique to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. With this token, you can exchange it for the marked amount of crystal stones at the pavilion. This item is indeed a crystal token worth 100,000. Jiang Fan realized. A crystal token was similar to a silver note used in the mortal world, because carrying too many crystal stones was inconvenient. Carrying a crystal token was undoubtedly much easier. "Junior brother Jiang, you shouldn't have raised the price back-to-back just now." When Shengnin examined the crystal token and said solemnly, "The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion only issues crystal tokens to the 9 sect masters and elders of each peak. That old man just now must have an esteemed status. You've already offended him." Jiang Fan couldn't help but feel guilty, but thinking it over, he nonchalantly put away the crystal token and said, "Offend then offend. The world is so big, where could he find me?" When Shengnin nodded slightly. "True enough. Maybe he's an elder from the outer sect. Your chances of running into each other are almost zero." Thinking about how Jiang Fan sold a 210,000 crystal stone beast whip for 100,000 crystal stones, she couldn't help but murmur enviously, "I thought junior brother Jiang was a pure little white. Turns out he's even craftier than me. If his belly were cut open, it must be all black inside." A cheerful Jiang Fan accompanied Wen Shengnin to sell all the beast whips. Then, humming a little tune, he returned to the sect master peak. As soon as he opened the door, the room was once again full of half-chewed heavenly materials and earthly treasures. This guy had gone to steal from the medicine garden again. Jiang Fan grumpily took out a spiritual medicine from the medicine peak and tossed it to the little Qilin. "You little thief, if you get caught, don't you dare rat me out." The little Qilin's eyes sparkled. It immediately spat out the half-chewed spirit ginseng in its mouth and happily grabbed the spiritual medicine to eat. Compared to ordinary heavenly materials and earthly treasures, it preferred refined spiritual medicine and spirit pills. Jiang Fan tidied up the room briefly, then swallowed a foundation establishment pill, sat cross-legged, and began to consolidate the 7th layer of the foundation establishment realm he broke through today. Unbeknownst to him, in the side hall, Liu Wuchen was looking bewildered. "Master, what happened to you?" He noticed that Zhuang Yunian's expression was off. He returned with a dark face, as if he had suffered a great grievance. But in Green Cloud City, who dared to make Zhuang Yunian suffer? Zhuang Yunian grumpily threw the beast whip on the table. Upon a closer look, Liu Wuchen was overjoyed. "A beast whip with a demon emperor bloodline. And it's from a beast king. Incredible, you actually bought it? That means there's hope for the prescription. But master, why do you look unhappy?" Liu Wuchen asked, puzzled. Zhuang Yunian snorted. "Do you know how much it cost me? 100,000. A whole 100,000 crystal stones." Liu Wuchen felt a twinge in his heart. 100,000 crystal stones was no small amount even for the sect master peak. But if it could restore Zhuang Yunian to his peak, then 100,000 was worth it. 100,000 is 100,000, this item is priceless. Being able to buy it is a great fortune. Liu Wuchen tried to console him. Zhuang Yunian fumed. "It's not the money I'm upset about. Do you know how detestable that kid selling this thing was?" He then recounted his experience. "Intolerable!" Liu Wuchen, enraged, smashed the table with a palm. "Isn't this bullying? Raising the price on the spot was one thing, but to do it twice. He has got a lot of nerve. I'll send people to capture him right now." Selling at 100,000 crystal stones and raising the price on the spot to 100,000 crystal stones were two different things. No one could accept that. This black-hearted kid had blackmailed even the old sect master of the Green Cloud Sect. Simply audacious. Seeing him so furious, Zhuang Yunian felt somewhat relieved and said, forget it. If I wanted to teach him a lesson, I would have done it at that time. I just came out of seclusion and got ripped off, so I feel a bit uncomfortable. Besides, if you go to capture him with great pomp, do you want the whole world to know that I bought a beast whip last night? This. Liu Wuchen had no choice but to swallow his anger. Zhuang Yunyan picked up the beast whip, feeling much more reassured, and finally had the mood to inspect the current state of the sect master peak. Summon all inner sect disciples tomorrow. I want to see what kind of good seedlings there are. Liu Wuchen cupped his hands and said, "Yes, I will make sure everyone is present." The next day, after a night of cultivation, Jiang Fan was full of energy. The realm of the seventh layer of foundation establishment was stabilized. The disciple evaluation shouldn't be a big problem, Jiang Fan analyzed. Even if Tang Tianlong used his full strength, he could handle it with ease. Attempting to expel him from the sect wouldn't be easy. Bang, bang, bang at this moment. The summoning bell of the Great Hall rang. Jiang Fan calculated with his fingers, looking surprised. It's not the end of the month to hand in the tasks. Why is Master summoning everyone? Right then, Liu Qingxian's call came from outside the door. Jiang Fan, hurry, the Supreme Elder is summoning all the disciples. Jiang Fan was energized. He felt a bit excited. Recently, he only encountered the Supreme Elders of other peaks. His own Supreme Elder finally showed up. This gave him a great sense of security. He quickly tidied up and rushed out, eager to see the true appearance of the Supreme Elder. Today was quite a grand occasion. Even Liu Qingxian, who usually went about barefaced, had applied a touch of makeup. She dusted her fair cheeks with a thin layer of powder. This made her skin appear glowing with a hint of red. Rather than her usual bright purple or crimson attire, she had donned a pale white dress today. Her hair black as a waterfall, her eyes as bright as snow. She stood elegantly in the morning breeze, like a solitary beauty in the vast wilderness, causing hearts to flutter. Jiang Fan couldn't help but be entranced. "What are you staring at?" Liu Qingxian noticed Jiang Fan's gaze and cast a quick glance at him. She turned her head and led the way. In an angle Jiang Fan couldn't see, her lips curved in a smiling satisfaction. Jiang Fan gave an embarrassed smile and hurriedly caught up to walk alongside her, unable to resist asking curiously, "Senior sister, what kind of person is our Supreme Elder? Is he easy to get along with?" Liu Qingxian answered without hesitation. "How could someone in charge of our sect be easy to get along with?" True enough. A lenient personality wouldn't be able to oversee an entire sect. There had to be an edge to command respect from everyone. However, this is his first audience with the disciples since he came out of seclusion, intending to see the current state of the disciples at Sect Master Peak. He won't lose his temper, so don't worry. Besides, Liu Qingxian's eyes gleamed with hope. For some promising talents, he will likely bestow some rewards generously. Consider it a reward from the Supreme Elder for the diligent disciples. Rewards? Jiang Fan felt anticipation grow in his heart. The two of them walked to the Grand Hall. As the big senior brother, Wang Chengjian was registering the disciples one by one. Seeing Liu Qingxian and Jiang Fan arriving side by side, he knew it was Liu Qingxian who had gone to invite Jiang Fan again. He felt a sudden displeasure. He couldn't fathom why Liu Qingxian was so attached to Jiang Fan. He casually registered their names. Looking at Liu Qingxian, he discreetly took out a token with the number 1 from his sleeve. "Junior sister, I'm saving this number 1 seat for you. These brats all want to get close to the Supreme Elder. If I don't save this seat earlier, they would have taken it already." At every significant gathering, seating among the disciples was on a first-come, first-served basis, obtaining their seating tokens from the registration point. Today was a day to meet the legendary Supreme Elder. Everyone wanted to be close to him. Liu Qingxian was no exception. She gladly accepted the number 1 token. "Jiang Fan, choose the seat next to mine," Liu Qingxian said expectantly. She wanted to properly introduce Jiang Fan to the Supreme Elder. Wang Chengjian, however, looked at Jiang Fan expressionlessly and casually took an 18th token from the pile. "Jiang Fan, you sit at the back. You're just a disciple without a spirit root. Sitting too conspicuously might draw the Supreme Elder's attention to you. Knowing that the sect master accepted a disciple like you would surely ruin his mood." Liu Qingxian protested. "Why?" Jiang Fan, however, was indifferent. "Senior sister, sitting at the back is fine. I just want to see the true face of the Supreme Elder. Whether or not I win his favor doesn't matter." Liu Qingxian glared at Wang Chengjian. "Picking on Jiang Fan again and again, do you still deserve to be the big senior brother of Sect Master Peak? Let me tell you, don't think so highly of your talents and look down on Jiang Fan." Given time, you wouldn't even be worthy to carry his shoes. Jiang Fan felt a warmth in his heart. In Sect Master Peak, Liu Qingxian was the only one who treated him well. For that reason, he didn't want to cause her trouble, so he tugged her along. All right, let's get inside quickly. Leaving Wang Chengjian with a face turned ashen. He clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. His eyes filled with fierce intensity. She actually said that in the future I would be inferior to Jiang Fan? I'm at the 8th layer of Foundation establishment. What realm is Jiang Fan at? Liu Qingxian's favoritism towards Jiang Fan is beyond reason. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Coming back to his senses, he regretted, I really should have given the front token to Jiang Fan. Let the Supreme Elder know right away what kind of person has arrived at Sect Master Peak. Perhaps in a fit of anger, he would expel Jiang Fan. He felt he had made a mistake. Not long after, all the disciples gathered. Each took out a mat to sit cross-legged in the center of the grand hall. There were about 20 disciples at Sect Master Peak. The 18th seat was exactly in the last row. The front rows were crowded with several rows of disciples, forming a dense, dark mass. It wouldn't be easy for the Supreme Elder to notice anyone in the last row. At that moment, a robust voice echoed through the entire hall. The Supreme Elder arrives. A pure white crane flew in from outside the hall. It swooped over the heads of the disciples and landed at the front of the hall. First to descend was Liu Qingxian. He respectfully supported an elderly man in a plain martial robe. The disciples held their breath, their spirits high, gazing at the legendary former sect master, the Supreme Elder of Sect Master Peak. Zhuang Yunian. Jiang Fan was also excited in his heart. What would his Supreme Elder look like? In his mind, he visualized an immortal-like figure with the demeanor of an ancient sage. He craned his neck, finally managing to see over the heads of the senior brothers and sisters in front, catching a glimpse of the elder descending from the crane. An elderly man in a white martial robe, a round face with a blue mole on his forehead, resembling a bodhisattva from a temple. Wait a minute. Jiang Fan's face froze. He rubbed his eyes, taking a closer look, and his face grew increasingly rigid. Wasn't this the old man he had overcharged yesterday? He was their Supreme Elder. His first time being a ruthless merchant, he had overcharged his own Supreme Elder. He felt the world spinning. He almost toppled over. At this moment, Zhuang Yunian kindly gazed at the gathered disciples. Not bad, not bad. Everyone is full of spirit. While speaking, he suddenly noticed a disciple in the last row with his head bowed, almost buried in his chest. He couldn't help but pause. Everyone followed his gaze, looking at Jiang Fan, all showing puzzled expressions. Liu Qingxian furrowed his brow. Jiang Fan, why are you behaving so poorly? Raise your head. In the presence of the Supreme Elder, what did it mean to bow your head like that? When reprimanded, Jiang Fan lowered his head even further. Master, I took the wrong spiritual medicine yesterday, causing facial paralysis. To avoid offending the Supreme Elder, I have to do this. Please forgive me, Master. Please forgive me, Supreme Elder. Liu Qingxian gritted his teeth in anger. This useless fellow, just as he was about to scold further, Zhuang Yunian waved his hand, showing tolerance. It's all right, it's all right. Who doesn't have moments of discomfort? This disciple's presence, despite the discomfort, shows respect for me as the old peak master. Do not scold him. Liu Qingxian sighed in relief. Luckily, Zhuang Yunian didn't bother with such details. Otherwise, Jiang Fan would be in serious trouble today. Upon hearing this, Jiang Fan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and secretly sighed in relief. What a close call. If Zhuang Yunian had recognized him, he couldn't imagine what would happen. However, what made his mouth bitter was, it was far from over. After settling in, Zhuang Yunian smiled and said, one by one, come up and show what you've learned in your life. Those who perform exceptionally, I have rewards to offer. Jiang Fan's face was filled with despair. It's over, there's no escape. According to the number plate, the first to go forward was Liu Qingxian from seat number 1. After getting up, she first turned her head to look at Jiang Fan in the last row. Her face was full of suspicion, facial paralysis. Wasn't he just talking and laughing a moment ago? What on earth was he trying to do? Suppressing her doubts, she began her display. The powerful might of the early-stage core formation realm, the heavenly ruined finger, surprised all the disciples present. Zhuang Yunian's face also showed a sincere smile. Qingxian, you have raised an excellent daughter. The next peak master is surely her. He was utterly generous. On the spot, he took out a scroll of cultivation technique. This high-level, profound mental method, I give it to you. All the disciples in the hall were shocked. High-level, profound techniques were rare even in the entire green Cloud Sect. A mental method was something only the sect master could cultivate. It was a unique copy. The great elder may usually appear awe-inspiring, but he did not have the qualification to touch this mental method, which was traditionally only practiced by sect masters. Zhuang Yunian handing this method to Liu Qingxian was a statement of his intentions. He wanted to support Liu Qingxian to become the sect leader's successor. The significance was profound. Liu Qingxian was extremely excited, kneeling down to thank him. "Thank you, Supreme Elder, for your favor." With her as the opener, all the following disciples were eager to try. They all wanted to show their best to gain the Supreme Elder's recognition. Wang Chengjian was the second to come forward. With a cultivation of foundation establishment 8th layer, along with solid techniques, his performance was also quite remarkable. Zhuang Yunian stroked his beard and said, "A promising talent. With Qingxian and him, our sect master Peak will still master the green Cloud Sect, unmoved by anyone." He immediately took out a bottle of foundation establishment pills and said, "Take it, work hard." Wang Chengjian was very happy. The whole bottle of foundation establishment pills contained 10 pills worth 1,000 crystal stones. Of course, the most important thing was the affirmation from the Supreme Elder. He had said personally that in the future he would want him and Liu Qingxian to manage the sect master Peak together. In this way, he might have a chance to marry Liu Qingxian and become Dao companions. Thinking of this, he glanced sideways at Jiang Fan in the last row. What can it matter even if Liu Qingxian fancies you? If you don't have the strength, you don't even qualify to stay by Liu Qingxian's side. Next up, the disciples successively displayed their strengths. Based on their performance, Zhuang Yunian would give varying levels of rewards. However, after the 15th, the disciples' strength was generally lower. Zhuang Yunian just lightly nodded, encouraging them to work harder. "Next, number 18, Jiang Fan," Liu Wuchen called reluctantly. Jiang Fan got up with a stiff head. With his head lowered, he approached the Supreme Elder and gave a hand salute. "Disciple Jiang Fan greets the Supreme Elder." Zhuang Yunian nodded slightly. "Show your strength," thinking for a moment. Jiang Fan suppressed his spiritual power, only releasing the 3rd layer of foundation establishment. Then he performed a set of abandoned yellow-level, high-level sword techniques. The 7-star sword Jiu. As long as his performance wasn't too outstanding, the Supreme Elder wouldn't pay too much attention to him. After watching, Zhuang Yunian gently nodded. "Not bad, work hard." Phew, Jiang Fan exhaled deeply, sheathed his sword, and silently walked back to his seat. He escaped a disaster. Liu Wuchen also let out a breath. Fortunately, although Jiang Fan had no spirit root, he managed to overdraw his potential to reach the foundation establishment realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done anything today, letting the Supreme Elder know that he had no spirit root. He would likely be furious and blame him for recklessly taking disciples. However, at this moment, Wang Chengjian, who had long been waiting for the chance, deliberately mumbled loud enough for Zhuang Yunian to hear. "This guy, how could he have such strength without a spirit root?" Zhuang Yunian raised his eyes in surprise. "This disciple, wait a moment." Jiang Fan was furious. "Wang Chengjian, did he have to play tricks like this?" Liu Wuchen also glared at Wang Chengjian. Seeing the matter almost settled, his muttering had caused a big problem. Helplessly, Jiang Fan could only walk back with his head lowered even more and say, "What are your orders, Supreme Elder?" Zhuang Yunian looked at Jiang Fan in surprise. "Are you really without a spirit root?" Jiang Fan didn't know how to answer. He wasn't without a spirit root at all. He had a golden spirit root, but it couldn't be detected. Liu Wuchen knew he couldn't conceal it and had no choice but to answer reluctantly. "Reporting to Master, Jiang Fan is indeed a disciple without a spirit root." Zhuang Yunian frowned. He asked, "This child, was he recommended by someone you know?" The first thought that came to his mind was that Jiang Fan was a disciple brought into the sect master Peak through the back door. This was not a new thing in other peaks, but in sect master Peak, it was strictly prohibited. Liu Wuchen stammered, unable to answer. Accepting Jiang Fan as a disciple was because his daughter had already had a husband-wife relationship with him. To avoid Jiang Fan spreading the news, he reluctantly allowed him to join the sect master Peak. But at this moment, how could he say that? "Really?" Zhuang Yunian's face showed a hint of displeasure, reprimanding sternly. "How many times have I warned you? 1,000-mile dike is destroyed by an ant hole. If our sect master Peak wants to maintain the sect leader's position, every disciple must be the elite of the elite. Any corruption someday will lead to being overtaken by other peaks." The more he spoke, the angrier he became. With a sense of deep regret, Moreover, have you forgotten how perilous it was when you reached the sect leader's position? If not careful, the next sect leader position would be taken by reincarnation peak. Amid such danger, you still bring in disciples through the back door at the sect master peak. He glanced at Jiang Fan. The more he thought about it, the more infuriated he became. Even if you had no choice, you should have checked his aptitude first. Even if it was a 4th grade spirit root, I would have accepted it. But bringing a disciple without a spirit root, what do you intend to do? Liu Qingxian was scolded harshly. Not daring to resist at all, he could only honestly say, "Disciple admits fault, please punish me, master." Zhuang Yunian snorted angrily. "What's the point of punishment? You handle it yourself." Upon hearing this, the crowd's faces changed. All understood the intention of the Supreme Elder. He wanted Liu Qingxian to expel Jiang Fan from the sect. Wang Chengjian laughed in his heart. It turned out as expected, the Supreme Elder couldn't tolerate even a grain of sand in his eye. Someone like Jiang Fan without a spirit root would never be accepted. Liu Qingxian's face turned pale. Knowing that at this moment, Jiang Fan's secret couldn't be kept any longer, before she could speak. Jiang Fan himself spoke up first, raising his head and chest. "Supreme Elder, I did not come through the back door. Before becoming a disciple, I had no ties with the master." About to be expelled from the mountain gate. Whether he kept his head down or not, it was meaningless. He faced the Supreme Elder openly and honestly. Zhuang Yunian glanced at him, meaning, "Do I believe you?" But this glance made Zhuang Yunian startled. He stared at Jiang Fan, immediately recognizing that this was the black-hearted kid from yesterday. The one who had extorted him for a total of 50,000 crystal stones by hiking the price twice, causing him a sleepless night. "It's you," Zhuang Yunian suddenly sat up. His chest-length beard floated up with emotion. He never imagined in his wildest dreams the one who cut him would be his own junior. Jiang Fan coughed awkwardly. "Disciple did not know it was Supreme Elder revered driver yesterday. If there is any offense, please, Supreme Elder, be merciful." Be merciful. Fresh out of seclusion and already taken a harsh lesson from society. And the teacher was his own grand disciple. He had lost face all the way to the heavenly mechanism pavilion. How could he be merciful? "You kid, you've got some guts." Zhuang Yunian gritted his teeth. Jiang Fan secretly cursed his bad luck. His first time killing someone, and it happened to be the Supreme Elder. Who could he complain to? Seeing that Zhuang Yunian looked like he wouldn't let it go, Jiang Fan could only say, "How about this? I'll refund the money to the Supreme Elder and you give the beast whip back." Zhuang Yunian shuddered in fear. If it got out that he had bought the beast whip, he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. "Shut up!" He hastily stopped Jiang Fan, his mind racing. Returning the beast whip was out of the question. He needed it urgently. And he couldn't expel Jiang Fan from the sect. If Jiang Fan spread the word, his reputation would be ruined. He couldn't just not expel him, he had to keep him pacified. Otherwise, if he upset him, Jiang Fan might still spill the beans. Thinking of this, he held back a belly full of anger, yet he couldn't vent it. The entire Great Hall was silent. Everyone was waiting for the Supreme Elder's final decision. Wang Chengjian was internally delighted. "Before leaving, you just had to anger the Supreme Elder. I figure you won't escape a beating." However, just as he was thinking that, something happened that left him dumbfounded. A moment ago, Zhuang Yunian had been on the verge of exploding, but now he suddenly put on a kindly smile and praised generously. Being without a spirit root and still achieving this level shows your great perseverance. While talent is important on the martial path, perseverance is also indispensable. I see great potential in you. You will achieve great things in the future. With that, he took a bottle of Foundation Establishment pills from his sleeve. Thinking it wasn't enough, he took out another bottle. "Take these. I hope to see your new performance in the disciple rating in a few days." Jiang Fan was puzzled as he received the 2 bottles of Foundation Establishment pills. Can someone tell me what's going on? His lack of a spirit root was discovered, and he extorted the Supreme Elder, which was also revealed. Why did nothing happen to him, and instead he received 2 bottles of Foundation Establishment pills as a reward? Bear in mind, Wang Chengjian, who performed second, only got 1 bottle as a reward, not to mention himself. Even Liu Qingxian, who was watching, felt confused. Only Liu Qingxian, who knew the internal details, guessed the real reason. He couldn't help but mumble, "Master has finally experienced the feeling of suffering in silence like I did back then." Thinking of this, he felt a bit gleeful. "You scolded me harshly just now. How is it now? Aren't you still being made to suffer by Jiang Fan?" "Haha, Wang Chengjian's face turned green. His reward was actually less than Jiang Fan's. What nonsense was that? He clenched his fists and said coldly, "Go ahead, be smug. The disciple rating is coming up soon. Let's see what you do then." The incident subsided silently. Once Zhuang Yunyan finished inspecting all the disciples, he gave Liu Wuchen a look. Liu Wuchen took a deep breath. His expression gradually became serious. In a deep and powerful voice, he said, "While all disciples are gathered today, I have something to announce." Everyone sat up straight. It must be something significant for Liu Wuchen to be so formal. Recently, Vice Pavilion Master Nie Yunzhuo of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion visited our sect and conveyed a decision from the pavilion. The crowd exchanged glances. They were not surprised. It was unlikely someone as distinguished as Nie Yunzhuo would come to the Green Cloud Sect for a sightseeing tour, right? There must be important business. Liu Wuchen raised his voice, considering the significant threat posed by this beast tide, which endangers the Nine Sect land. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion has issued a conscription order to the Nine Sects. They require elite disciples and elders from the Nine Sects to head to the beast tide front lines to fend off the beast tide. Upon hearing this, everyone's demeanor turned solemn. Some disciples looked panicked, while others who had already anticipated this couldn't hide their fear. How ferocious were demon beasts, and how terrifying was the beast tide. If one was not careful, even elders, the top experts of the current age, could fall. What more for ordinary disciples? Liu Wuchen then reassured them. Although the mission is dangerous, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion offers generous rewards. If one accumulates sufficient merit, the pavilion will make an exception and admit them for further training. What? With these words, the crowd was in an uproar. What a supreme place the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was. The resources there were 10 times that of the Green Cloud Sect. Even a dog entering there would come out invincible. Additionally, based on merit, one can exchange for various cultivation resources. Pills for breaking through the core formation realm are also among them. The crowd's spirits rallied once more. They realized that although the mission was perilous, it was a rare opportunity in a decade. With enough merit, they might defy fate. Jiang Fan's heart was pounding. To be honest, the Green Cloud Sect's resources were no longer sufficient to advance his cultivation. Stronger resources were necessary to move forward. This mission issued by the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion was a golden opportunity. However, not all disciples can participate. At this point, Liu Wuchen interrupted many disciples' fantasies, saying, "The beast tide is not like individual demon beasts. They usually move in hordes. Without strong skills, one can easily get injured or even die. Therefore, after discussing with the elders of the 9 peaks, only disciples with a rating of good or above are permitted to participate." Immediately, nearly half of the disciples turned distressed. Reaching a good rating was not easy, especially since the rating this time was conducted by Reincarnation Peak. If they targeted the Sect Master Peak, achieving a good rating would be even more challenging. "All right, the disciple rating will be in 5 days. Prepare yourselves." After a pause, Liu Wuchen added, "For disciples confident in achieving a good rating, start preparing for the beast tide now. Remember to stock up on life-saving items. Your life is paramount." Everyone understood. After dismissal, they immediately flocked down the mountain to Green Cloud City to purchase supplies. "Jiang Fan, let's go too." Liu Qingxian, eager for the opportunity of advanced training in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, pulled Jiang Fan along. "Senior sister, do you have a collection token for the medicine garden? I want to gather some herbs." Life-saving items were usually defensive armor, escape talismans, and most importantly, healing spirit pills. The healing spirit pills available in Green Cloud City were low-tier pills. They were very limited in effectiveness. It was better if he made them himself. Liu Qingxian was surprised but didn't think much of it, handing him a token on the spot. "Take it, we'll meet up later," she went ahead. Jiang Fan, holding the token, returned to the medicine garden. Several deacons verified the token and said, "High-tier token, you can collect 10 pounds of high-grade medicinal materials. Go ahead." 10 pounds. That would be more than enough. Shortly after entering, when Hong Yao rushed over asking, "Did the Supreme Elder from my medicine peak go in?" The 3 deacons nodded. "Yes, Elder Wen, Supreme Elder Qin entered the garden as soon as he returned to the sect." When Hong Yao could only laugh and cry. Her master, Qin Wangchuan, went out months ago and immediately headed to the medicine garden upon returning, still as obsessed with medicinal materials as ever. Then she thought of something and asked, "No one else went inside, right? My master doesn't have as good a temper as I do." If he sees a disciple damaging the herbs, he'll lose his temper on the spot. The three deacons' mouths twitched. You have a good temper. Can anyone in the entire Green Cloud Sect have a worse temper than you? But when Hongyao prided himself on having a good temper in front of Supreme Elder Qin, which showed just how nasty this Supreme Elder's personality was. Reporting to Elder Wen, a disciple just went in, when Hongyao's old face twitched. Then let that disciple fend for himself. Medicine Garden. Jiang Fan headed straight for the high-level medicine garden. One by one, high-grade herbs he had once coveted grew lushly before him. He could pick them as he pleased. The healing spirit pill with the best results is a third-grade spirit pill, the revitalizing pill. For external injuries, it stops bleeding immediately. For bones, they can be repaired in half a day. For internal injuries, it cures as soon as it's administered. Its individual effects aren't top-notch, but it covers all bases, making it ideal for complex battlefield environments. Having finalized his alchemy plan, he began to ponder the pill recipe. Dragon whisker grass, three-striped spiritual fruit, 100-year-old mulberry shavings. He muttered to himself as he searched. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a patch of dragon whisker grass, as tall as a person. They looked like white whiskers clustered together, swaying in the wind. He approached. Before he could take out his harvesting tools, a cold snort unexpectedly sounded from behind him. Who gave you permission to pick dragon whisker grass? It's extremely delicate and can only be collected under a senior's guidance. Jiang Fan was startled. He considered his cultivation quite decent, with a perception far better than ordinary folks. Yet someone had approached him without his noticing at all. Turning his head, he found no one behind him. His scalp tingled. A ghost! Until something stepped hard on his instep. Where are you looking? The voice came from below. Jiang Fan looked down to see a little girl, about 4 feet tall, glaring at him with puffed cheeks. She appeared to be around 6 years old. She had a face as cute as a porcelain doll, with delicate skin that seemed like it would tear at a touch. Her voice was soft and childish, though her attire was a bit mature. Such an adorable little girl was dressed in coarse linen garments, her hair styled in an old-fashioned bun typical of mature women. Little girl, where are your parents? Jiang Fan squatted down, curiously examining the suddenly appearing little girl. How did someone so small end up in the medicine garden? Where were her guardians? The little girl spoke with authority. I should be asking you, where are your guardians? Why are you causing trouble in the high-level medicine garden? Causing trouble. Jiang Fan was amused and patted her head. Small as you are, you've got quite a temper. Watch this. I'll show you how to pick dragon whisker grass. The little girl dodged Jiang Fan's hand, her face stern. Dragon whisker grass is very delicate. If you damage it, don't blame me for being rude. Jiang Fan touched his nose. Why did this little girl talk so old-fashionedly? And such a big temper? Whose family spoiled their child so much that they became this temperamental? Shaking his head, Jiang Fan prepared to pick the dragon whisker grass. As the little girl said, this grass was indeed extremely fragile. It couldn't tolerate the slightest contamination. Otherwise, it would instantly decay. So he put on the ice silk gloves he had prepared beforehand and took out a cool jade box. Then he took a specially made jade knife, carefully cutting 3 inches from the root. He then meticulously coiled it up and placed it into the jade box. A look of surprise appeared on the little girl's face, and she couldn't help but nod slightly, a sign of approval. Dragon whisker grass was very light, and harvesting 3 pounds of it took Jiang Fan a full hour. How about it any damage? Jiang Fan shook the full jade box of dragon whisker grass. The little girl rolled her eyes. Look at you all proud and smug. Jiang Fan couldn't help but laugh. He actually got disdained by a little girl. All right, you play by yourself, I still have other herbs to pick. With that, Jiang Fan moved on to the 3-striped spiritual fruit. The little girl tucked her hands into her sleeves and followed closely, keeping a close watch on Jiang Fan. She was just waiting for Jiang Fan to make a mistake and ruin the fruit. Then she could scold him until he was drenched in spittle. Daring to show off in front of her Qin Wangchuan, she wouldn't let him get away. Yes, she was indeed the Supreme Elder of Medicine Peak, Qin Wangchuan. In her youth, she had ingested a spirit fruit by accident, freezing her appearance at the age of 6 forever. She never aged or grew, always looking like a 6-year-old girl. Because of this, her personality became sensitive and capricious. The other Supreme Elders were all afraid of her. Seeing her following, Jiang Fan didn't mind. He continued to use specialized techniques to pick 3 pounds of the fruit. He then moved on to the 100-year-old mulberry, meticulously scraping 3 pounds of shavings. The entire process was skillful and precise, without a single mistake. This made Qin Wangchuan take notice, nodding in approval. Which peak are you a disciple of? Such skilled techniques your master must have taught you well. Jiang Fan laughed. I'm a disciple of Sect Master Peak. How about you? Whose child are you? Child, Qin Wangchuan glared at him. Over the years, she had been misunderstood by countless people and was already used to it, impatiently waving her hand. If there's nothing else, go away. If you step on the spirit grass, I'll crush your skull. Jiang Fan couldn't help but laugh. Where did this kid come from? I still have things to do. I'll leave later. He arrived at a desolate, unused part of the medicine garden, taking out a small pill furnace and many alchemical tools. The pill recipe was taken from the Taiyan Soul technique. The author had marked the recipe with unverified, so it was uncertain whether he could successfully refine the pill. Better to try before leaving the medicine garden. If it failed, he'd switch to another pill recipe and gather the herbs again. Qin Wangchuan followed, glanced at Jiang Fan's tools, and asked in surprise, "You know alchemy? Could you be a soul master?" This couldn't be true, she thought. The Green Cloud Sect had only one other grade soul master, but he had left the sect years ago. How could a disciple of Sect Master Peak be a soul master? I'm a rather impressive soul master, Jiang Fan smiled. Before the child, he rarely showed his genuine side without a facade. Ha! Qin Wangchuan sneered. If you're a soul master, I'll do a flip. Jiang Fan laughed. You said it. Then he immediately took out the 3 primary materials and many auxiliary ones from his personal stash. He began making the pill on the spot. From refining, entering the furnace, controlling the heat, to solidifying the pill, his process was swift and precise. Qin Wangchuan's eyes widened, mumbling in astonishment. He really is a soul master. How could that be? A soul master could easily stand on equal footing with the elders. How could he be a disciple under Liu Wuchen? Was Liu Wuchen daft? Such mistreatment of a soul master. Could he be a soul master apprentice, not qualified to stand alone? Thinking it over, Qin Wangchuan found this the most likely scenario. Otherwise, Liu Wuchen must have water in his brain to treat him merely as a disciple. An impressive display, yet just a soul master apprentice. Qin Wangchuan watched smugly. Let's see what quality of pills a soul master apprentice can produce. Soul master apprentice? Me? Jiang Fan laughed and immediately opened the pill furnace. The powerful scent of medicine filled the sky, forming a thick fog that spread out. Qin Wangchuan was slightly taken aback and couldn't help but mutter, "Isn't the medicinal power of this pill a bit too strong?" In her impression, an apprentice soul master could only refine some low-grade Qi cultivation liquid, or some other extremely simple pills. But such a rich scent, no matter how she looked at it, it didn't seem like an ordinary pill. What kind of trick are you playing? Qin Wangchuan snorted skeptically, her little head leaning over the pill furnace to take a look inside. A thumb-sized, crystalline, and translucent emerald green pill came into view. Thin threads of spirit light shimmered unpredictably on the pill's surface. A third-grade spirit pill? Qin Wangchuan gasped. She could hardly believe her eyes. Even though she had seen it with her own eyes just now, witnessing the entire process, she still couldn't believe this person had refined a third-grade spirit pill. Isn't this something only a 3-star soul master could do? Could it be that this person was truly a soul master, or a 3-star soul master? Hey, little girl, you can actually recognize the grade of a spirit pill. Jiang Fan clicked his tongue in wonder, pinching her cheeks and sizing her up. Weird, you're so young and you understand pills. Could it be that your parents are also soul masters? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but worry. He said, "You must keep it a secret that your brother knows how to refine pills. Don't tell anyone, okay? If you agree, I'll give you this spirit pill." Qin Wangchuan was too astonished. So much so that it took her a while to react after her face had been pinched. Looking at the third-grade spirit pill within reach, how could she refuse? Her small hand grabbed it like lightning and quickly stuffed it into her chest, saying, "All right, I'll keep it a secret." Even if Jiang Fan hadn't asked for it, she wouldn't have easily revealed this anyway. This was a 3-star soul master. Wouldn't it be good to quietly have such valuable connections? Why would she want to be a loudspeaker and let everyone know? Then let's make a pinky swear. Jiang Fan extended his little finger. Qin Wangchuan's forehead bulged with blue veins. How childish can you be? He really treated her like a little girl. Jiang Fan touched his nose. All right, he was despised by a 6-year-old girl. Since the pill recipe was correct, he was relieved. After tidying up his things, he said, "Which peak are you from? I'll take you back." Qin Wangchuan thought for a moment and said, "Medicine Peak." Jiang Fan suddenly understood. Medicine Peak, I'm familiar with that, I'll take you back. So he held her hand and walked out. Qin Wangchuan struggled a few times but couldn't break free, so she could only let Jiang Fan lead her out of the medicine garden. As soon as they left the medicine garden, they found that besides the three deacons, Wen Hongyao was also present. Elder Wen, what a coincidence, I found a child in the medicine garden who says she's from Medicine Peak. Take a look, is she from your peak? Wen Hongyao took a closer look. She nearly popped her eyes out of their sockets. Supreme Elder, didn't she hate being treated like a child the most? Why was she letting Jiang Fan hold her hand? Ma! She was about to step forward and acknowledge her master, but was stopped by Qin Wangchuan's gaze. After a pause, she changed her words in confusion. Yes, she is from our peak. Jiang Fan handed her to Wen Hongyao with a smile, saying, The child has great potential, she's a good seedling. Just that her temper's not great, needs more discipline. Wen Hongyao's face twitched. She dared not make a sound, not daring to respond at all. Discipline the Supreme Elder? How could she dare? Mind your own business, Qin Wangchuan grumbled angrily. Jiang Fan crouched down and pinched her cheeks in annoyance. If you keep this up, watch out for a big scolding from your parents. How dare you? Qin Wangchuan angrily slapped his hand away. Her silver teeth ground together. Had it not been for the fact that he was a 3-star soul master, she would have given him a good beating long ago. Ha ha ha, see you next time, little girl. He waved and strode away, leaving Wen Hongyao dumbfounded. She couldn't believe her eyes. Jiang Fan pinched the Supreme Elder's face and didn't get his hands broken. Was this really the fiery-tempered Supreme Elder she knew? What? Do you have something to say? Qin Wangchuan glared at the dumbfounded Wen Hongyao. The latter's aged body shivered and she quickly lowered her head. Disciple doesn't dare. Qin Wangchuan rubbed her red, pinched cheeks and snorted. That's what I thought. Wen Hongyao was speechless. The one who pinched you was Jiang Fan. Why are you venting on me? But what could she say? She could only obediently bow her head lower. I heard outside you were fighting with Zhao Wuji over a disciple. Qin Wangchuan asked with a frown, hands behind her back. When Hongyao nodded, It's true, master. Qin Wangchuan said displeasedly, Look at how low you are. In the plaza, all that's left are the disciples others didn't want, all worthless. You actually fought over them. People outside think Medicine Peak is so desperate, even for worthless ones. Aren't you ashamed? When Hongyao sighed helplessly, Master, you don't understand. That disciple is truly extraordinary. Not being able to recruit him is a loss for Medicine Peak. Qin Wangchuan laughed angrily. Still so stubborn? What geniuses hasn't Medicine Peak seen before? Is it worth fighting for? Reflect on your actions when you return. You embarrass me. HMPH, when Hongyao felt bitter. Her master really didn't listen to explanations at all. At this moment, Qin Wangchuan had calmed down. She glanced at Jiang Fan's disappearing figure, and her eyes narrowed slightly. I have to say, Sect Master Peak is truly blessed to have recruited such a deeply hidden disciple. What's his name? When Hongyao didn't dare to hide it, Jiang Fan. Qin Wangchuan pondered for a moment and asked, Surname Jiang. Are there any prestigious families with the surname Jiang in Green Cloud Sect's territory? In her mind, a soul master of this caliber could only come from top-level prestigious families. Unexpectedly, when Hongyao said with a strange expression, he comes from an ordinary family. Oh, Qin Wangchuan was surprised. In today's martial path realm, are there still talented individuals from humble backgrounds? That's rare. This further shows the great luck of Sect Master Peak to pick out such a disciple from the vast sea of people. If Medicine Peak had half their luck, it would be great. When Hongyao was stunned by these words. Surprised, she asked, Supreme Elder, you think highly of Jiang Fan? That Jiang Fan wasn't scolded harshly by Qin Wangchuan in the medicine garden was already very unexpected. Now she kept praising him. Her expression was peculiar. Qin Wangchuan showed a look of admiration. It's more than just thinking highly of him. If Medicine Peak had such a disciple, it would be easy to overthrow Sect Master Peak and take the Sect Master's position. What? When Hongyao was deeply shocked. Jiang Fan was indeed excellent with strong medical talent. Even Shangyuan Sheng praised him. But to overturn the fate of Medicine Peak, wasn't that too exaggerated? What's what? Qin Wangchuan glared at her. If you had some skill, you should also find such a disciple. I could die happily. But you only pick disciples from the worthless ones. When Hongyao couldn't take the continuous scolding, she weakly said, But Jiang Fan was the disciple I was fighting with Zhao Wuji over. This time it was Qin Wangchuan's turn to say, She widened her eyes and opened her mouth wide. Did I hear that right? You said Jiang Fan was thrown in the plaza. How is that possible? A 3-star soul master. He was a 3-star soul master, a person whom the heavenly mechanism pavilion greatly respected. But he was treated like a discarded pawn and thrown in the plaza for people to choose from. Wen Hongyao smiled bitterly. Yes, I discovered that this boy had a talent for refining medicine and had the thought of taking him as a disciple. Who knew Zhao Wuji, that old fool, would compete with me? In the end, the sect master, for some unknown reason, forcefully took him as a disciple. Knowing this, Jiang Fan almost became a disciple of Medicine Peak. Qin Wangchuan's vision went dark. She almost tripped. She clenched her fists and shouted, "Why didn't you fight for him? What's wrong with the sect master? Who cares about him? A disciple like Jiang Fan should be fought for, even if it means breaking heads. You useless rebelling disciple, you've delayed Medicine Peak for 300 years. With such a great opportunity in front of him, Wen Hongyao didn't grasp it. Qin Wangchuan almost fainted from anger. Wen Hongyao felt stifled in his heart. Blaming me for not being promising, yet you're the one fighting for worthless things. Blaming me for not doing my best to fight, yet you're the one who delayed Medicine Peak. This old woman is hard to please, speaking of Jiang Fan. Upon returning to Sect Master Peak, an outer sect disciple brought him a jade letter. With deep envy on his face, Senior Brother Jiang, someone from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's roaming auction, came by just now. They asked me to give this to you. Jiang Fan opened it, only to find it was a handwritten invitation from Chen Luoyu. It turned out tomorrow was the official start of the auction. She invited Jiang Fan to attend, and she had prepared the best private room for him. She still has some thoughtfulness. Jiang Fan put away the jade letter. If the revitalizing pills he refined this time were enough, he wouldn't mind giving her some to boost her performance. So, the first thing he did after returning home was to refine the revitalizing pill. This pill was quite troublesome. It could only be refined one at a time. Multiple pills couldn't be refined at once. Therefore, this refining process took a whole day. His eyes were bloodshot by the end, and he had finally refined 43 pills. He put 40 of them into 4 jade bottles. 1 bottle for himself, 1 for Su Yoren, 1 for Chen Silin, and 1 for Liu Qingxian. The remaining 3 pills were placed in a small bottle. Jiang Fan, Liu Qingxian's call came faintly. Whenever there was an important event, she was always the first to call Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan had already gotten used to it. He stuffed the jade bottles into his pocket, opened the door, and saw the familiar figure. This time, she was carrying a lot of things in her hands and handed them to Jiang Fan. Here. These are for hunting demon beasts. Jiang Fan took them, feeling the weight, and accepted them with a smile. Liu Qingxian twirled a strand of hair hanging on her chest with her fingers and turned her face away. Don't say it was from me. I can't afford to offend your vinegar jar back home. Last time she prepared things for Jiang Fan, Su Yoren had refused them. That left Liu Qingxian deeply resentful. Jiang Fan found it amusing and sad that she still remembered. He promptly took out a bottle of revitalizing pills. This bottle is for you. Without Liu Qingxian's token, he couldn't have obtained those high-grade medicinal materials. What's this? Liu Qingxian took it, opened it, and sniffed. The rich medicinal aroma wafted over, refreshing the spirit. Even if one didn't understand pills, they knew this was good stuff. Some healing pills for use in life-saving situations. Jiang Fan reminded her, hide it, don't let others know. Liu Qingxian pursed her lips. It's not like it's an immortal pill, why would anyone try to steal it? All right, I'll keep it. She carefully tucked it into her sleeve. As long as it was given by Jiang Fan, no matter its value, she liked it. The auction is about to start, let's go take a look. Liu Qingxian invited. Of course, we can only sit in the ordinary public seats. I asked about the private rooms, and they were all assigned to the sect elders. Disciples are only allowed in public seats. Really? Was the private room Chen Luoyu prepared for him that special? Then those last 3 revitalizing pills must be given to her for auction no matter what. Let's take a look first. The 2 of them made their way to Green Cloud City. The auction venue had already been set up. The space was massive, large enough to seat thousands. There were thousands of seats on the ground. Near the auction stage, there were 10 private rooms embedded in the walls. They were entirely made of special crystal, invisible from the outside, but allowed a clear view of the outside from the inside. The closer the private room to the auction stage, the better the view of the stage. Of course, it also became more prestigious. That's the great elder of the giant sect, Tai Bubai. Suddenly, Liu Qingxian noticed a group of burly men, each as sturdy as an iron tower, entering the auction house. The middle-aged man leading them was particularly noteworthy. standing 2 meters tall and walking through the crowd like a crane among chickens. It was hard not to attract her attention. Jiang Fan didn't have a good impression of the giant sect. Last time, it was the giant sect master and his disciple who couldn't accept their loss. Before leaving, they deliberately provoked the 100 Beasts Mountain, causing a small beast tide within Green Cloud Sect's territory. Why are they here? Is it possible that this auction has materials for body refinement? Jiang Fan wondered. He thought of his iron blood true scripture. Since he first started practicing it, he had been stuck due to material constraints and couldn't advance any further. If he could make some progress, dealing with the beast tide would undoubtedly be safer. Because demon beasts usually had immense strength. Humans were at a disadvantage when they got close. That's the divine Dr. Xianxia of the Supreme Sect. They just entered a private room too. Liu Qingxian spotted another important figure. Jiang Fan looked up and saw Xianxia Sheng and Xianxia Cultivation. Could it be that divine Dr. Xianxia is seeking something as well? Soon they saw several elders entering the private rooms. Liu Qingxian noticed something unusual. What's going on? It's just a roaming auction. Why are so many elders attending? In previous roaming auctions, there were only a few elders present. Could it be some unexpected treasure is appearing at this auction? Jiang Fan agreed. Things that attracted so many elders couldn't be simple. At this moment, a familiar voice called out from a distance. Hey, junior sister Liu, junior brother Jiang, you two are here too? Ling Guihai brought the elites from various sects, bustling as they arrived. Seeing them from afar, he greeted them proactively. Liu Qingxian didn't like him much, so she just slightly nodded her head as a response. Jiang Fan also remained expressionless. Ling Guihai wasn't offended and said cheerfully, "Would you like to enter a private room?" Liu Qingxian's brows slightly raised. "Your myriad sword sect's private room." According to the auction house rules, each elder could bring one person into a private room. This time, Green Cloud Sect's great elder, Feng Guchen, was going, so it was unlikely he would bring Liu Qingxian into the private room. She would certainly prefer to go if she could see better from the private room. However, if it was the Myriad Sword Sect's private room, she wouldn't bother. "Of course not," Ling Guihai said proudly. "My Myriad Sword Sect only got the number 9 private room. I wouldn't even go there." Oh. Liu Qingxian was surprised and then remembered that Ling Guihai's aunt was the vice president of the auction house. It wasn't difficult to arrange a private room for him. She couldn't help but sigh. "Your aunt does dote on you. What private room did she arrange for you?" Ling Guihai chuckled. "Of course, the number 1 private room." "What?" Liu Qingxian frowned. "How is that possible?" Even if she wanted to open a back door for a relative, it was impossible to let him use the most prestigious no. "1 private room, right?" Ling Guihai smiled mysteriously. "Using it just for me is naturally impossible. That number 1 private room is for a big figure whose slightest move would make the whole 9 sect land tremble. My aunt asked me to go to the no. 1 private room to serve tea and water to that big figure and leave a good impression. She said if I got his favor, I would soar to the sky and rise to the top." This statement made the elites behind him look eager. Considering Chen Luoyu's status, saying such words showed how terrifying that person was. At the very least, it was someone of the sect master level, maybe even a high-ranking member of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. What a great opportunity. Liu Qingxian's beautiful eyes sparkled, wanting to see this giant figure for herself. Only, Jiang Fan felt a bit puzzled. If he remembered correctly, the invitation letter yesterday clearly stated. His reserved private room was the number 1 private room. Could the important person Chen Luoyu mentioned be Jiang Fan? "Jiang Fan, would you like to meet this senior?" Liu Qingxian was intrigued. However, considering the unpleasant history between Jiang Fan and Ling Guihai, she decided to respect Jiang Fan's opinion first. Jiang Fan smiled bitterly. This senior was most likely himself. Before he could decide how to respond, Ling Guihai slightly frowned, saying, "Junior sister Liu, it might not be appropriate for him to go. My aunt said that this senior holds a prestigious position. Without some status and rank, one doesn't even qualify to pour tea for him. Although junior brother Jiang somehow acquired the identity of Uncle Xianxia Cultivation, he is ultimately just a disciple without a spirit root. Bringing him along might displease the senior. How could he share such a great opportunity with Jiang Fan? Only Liu Qingxian qualified to join him and witness the grandeur, to fully appreciate the powerful connections of Ling Guihai. Upon hearing this, Liu Qingxian decisively said, "Then you go by yourself. I will stay with Jiang Fan in the public seats. Let's go." Without Jiang Fan, why should she go? This action made Ling Guihai grind his teeth in frustration. Why did Liu Qingxian always have to bring this burden with her? Helplessly, he had to say, "Fine, let's bring junior brother Jiang." But junior brother Jiang should mind his words and actions. If he offends the senior and we get expelled, it doesn't matter. But if he gets punished by the senior, don't blame me. Liu Qingxian's eyes brightened. She asked, "Jiang Fan, are you going?" Jiang Fan couldn't help but laugh. The box was originally prepared for him, so why couldn't he go? "Of course, let's go," Jiang Fan confirmed. This made Ling Guihai and the other elite disciples roll their eyes. Jai Ryu glared at Jiang Fan with resentment. The public humiliation from him had etched itself in her memory. As they reunited, watching Jiang Fan bask in Ling Guihai's connections, she couldn't help but sneer. "I thought Xianxia would arrange a box for him as his uncle. Turns out, he still needs to rely on junior brother Ling." Ling Guihai found this very satisfying. The face he had lost last time was regained now. He pretended to be magnanimous, saying, "Let's not mention the past. I believe with junior brother Jiang's abilities, he could still enter the box without me." This made the elite disciples who flattered him even more indignant. Junior brother Ling is so broad-minded, even someone like Jiang Fan who lives off others is so tolerated. Isn't it? Last time he showed off because of Xianxia, this time he relies on Liu Qingxian to get into the box. He seems tough but didn't hesitate to live off others. Ling Guihai was delighted to hear this. The frustration he had pent up for days was finally released. "Jiang Fan, you think you can compare to me?" Ling Guihai sneered inwardly. As everyone entered the auction venue and headed towards Box No. The one in charge of reception was Wen Shengnan. She naturally recognized the nephew of Vice President Chen and smiled. "Young Master Ling." Ling Guihai immediately toned down his arrogance. He hadn't forgotten his aunt's advice. Be extra respectful when meeting Wen Shengnan. Treat her as you would the vice president. She emphasized that Wen Shengnan had powerful backing and must not be offended. Otherwise, it would bring trouble to Ling Jia. Ling Guihai firmly believed this and dared not be negligent. "Greetings, Chief Wen," Ling Guihai greeted respectfully. Wen Shengnan was very satisfied with his politeness and said, "No wonder Vice President Chen advised you to serve the distinguished guest in Box No. Such humility and courtesy, you should do well in serving the guest. However," she glanced at the large crowd behind him, "are those all your friends? There are too many people, they can't all go in. One person to serve tea is enough. So many people crowding the box, who would like that?" Ling Guihai wasn't surprised. In fact, he hadn't planned to really bring them into the box to meet the distinguished guest. That opportunity belonged to him alone. Why share it with others? Bringing them here in such a grand manner was naturally to let them witness firsthand and envy him greatly. Wen Shengnan's action was entirely within his expectations. So he put on a troubled look and addressed the elites behind him. "Everyone, it's my oversight. What shall we do?" What else could be done? The elite disciples looked disappointed but couldn't complain. After all, Ling Guihai had good intentions. It was just that Wen Shengnan didn't permit it. Jai Ryu, holding back her disappointment, forced a smile and said, "Junior brother Ling, it's not your fault. Let's sit in the public seats." Liu Qingxian also looked disappointed and said, "Let's go." Jiang Fan scratched his head and said, "If you want to go, then go." He separated the crowd and walked towards Wen Shengnan, saying, "No problem, if they wish to go in, let them all go in." It was only then that Wen Shengnan noticed Jiang Fan among them. She immediately changed her tone and smiled. "All right, all of you can go in, just don't make noise." The elite disciples, overjoyed yet puzzled, looked at Jiang Fan. What was going on? Why did Chief Wen agree to let them in after Jiang Fan spoke? Why does junior brother Jiang's word carry more weight than junior brother Ling's? It shouldn't be, right? Could it be that junior brother Jiang has another amazing identity? Strange, Ling Guihai's aunt is Vice President Chen. Theoretically, this should be Ling Guihai's domain. Why is junior brother Jiang's word more effective? They whispered among themselves, looked at Jiang Fan with respect. Given his identity connected to Xianxia, their views on Jiang Fan had changed. Ling Guihai found their words grating. He snorted, "Chief Wen saw my difficulty and intended to let us all in." She didn't get to speak before Jiang Fan seized the moment. "Do you think his words carry weight at the auction? Consider who I am and what his status is." This explanation cleared their doubts away. Jai Ryu's charming face once again lit up. "That's what I thought. We're here because of junior brother Ling's grace. Not some disciple without a spirit root." Many disciples nodded one after another. They followed Ling Guihai into box number 1. Liu Qingxian was astonished. Ling Guihai may be annoying, but he does have some clout in the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's auction house. He really brought this crowd in. Isn't he afraid of displeasing the senior? Jiang Fan shrugged. As long as they don't make noise, it's fine. As they stepped in, Chen Luoyu arrived, asking, "Shengnan, has young Master Jiang arrived?" When Shengnan nodded, "Yes, he just went in." Chen Luoyu felt relieved. To her, no guest today was more important than Jiang Fan. She had arranged the best box for him to form good relations. "By the way, where is my nephew?" Chen Luoyu asked, looking around with a frown. "I worked hard to get him a chance to impress young Master Jiang. He's not here yet. Shouldn't he be in the box waiting for young Master Jiang? Does he want young Master Jiang to wait for him?" When Shengnan covered her mouth and chuckled, young Master Ling also went in. Chen Luoyu finally relaxed. "That's more like it. Go get my best spiritual tea, I'll bring it personally." "Yes, Vice President," when Shengnan immediately ran off. The #1 private room was quite luxurious. Everywhere exuded a sense of privilege and wealth. Even the decorations on the walls were worth 10,000 crystal stones. The teacups on the table were also top-notch spirit wood carvings. Each one was worth 1,000 crystal stones. Even the most ordinary chairs were worth several thousand crystal stones. Present were all top disciples from various peaks, people who had seen the world. But they were still shocked by the opulence before their eyes. Jai Ryu's beautiful eyes sparkled with light. As expected of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's auction house, the decoration of the #1 private room must cost at least tens of thousands of crystal stones. The other disciples also sighed in admiration. "This is even better than our sect leader's bedroom, who would spend so much effort and expense on decorations. Apart from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, no one else." At this moment, Jai Ryu spotted a long jade-carved chair placed at the center. With dragons carved and phoenixes painted, it exuded grandeur above all. Most importantly, it was crafted from ice jade, rare in the 9-sect land, with even a fist-sized piece worth thousands of crystals. The cost of such an entire chair was unimaginable. "Junior brother Ling, can I sit on this chair?" Jai Ryu touched the armrest, eyes filled with longing. But this action was sternly stopped by Ling Guihai. "Take your hand off. Do you want to die? This is a seat for that great figure. How can you and I sit here casually?" Jai Ryu was startled and quickly withdrew her hand, repeatedly apologizing. "I'm sorry, I lost myself for a moment." Ling Guihai felt irritated inside. Bringing these burdens here not only diluted his own opportunities, but also brought him trouble. If that elder happened to come in, what would he feel seeing a group of nobodies sitting in his place? He sternly scanned everyone, saying, "All of you better be careful. If we anger that elder, neither of us will have a good outcome." A group of elite disciples who were touching here and looking there immediately stood properly. Liu Qingxian also found the decorations here quite novel. She carefully examined her surroundings. Suddenly, she noticed a palm-sized jade lion on the table and curiously said, "What is this?" She reached out to pick it up. Ling Guihai was annoyed, suppressing his anger. "Junior sister Liu, don't touch things here casually. If you break it, it will be a problem." Liu Qingxian stuck out her tongue in embarrassment and retracted her hand. She was enjoying the privilege of being here, so she had to adhere to the rules. Unexpectedly, Jiang Fan suddenly picked up the jade lion, examining it upside down, and said, "It looks like it's used for bidding, right? Infuse a bit of spiritual power, and the auction stage below will know the bid from this private room." He then casually tossed it to Liu Qingxian. "Play with it if you want. It's not worth much. If you break it, let Chief Wen replace it." Liu Qingxian hurriedly caught it, scolding, "Be careful, you almost broke it." This casual behavior startled the elite disciples. "This guy, does he think he's the owner of this private room? He even said to let Chief Wen replace it. If we really break it, Chief Wen would throw us all out." Jai Ryu was also angry. "Junior brother Ling, look at him. He's deliberately causing trouble." Ling Guihai was angrier than anyone. He originally didn't want to bring Jiang Fan in, but he did so reluctantly for Liu Qingxian's sake. But look at him. He showed no gratitude at all. Instead, he acted like he was the host here, completely ignoring Ling Guihai's advice and making trouble. "Jiang Fan, this is the last time I'm warning you, don't touch anything carelessly. If you break something, it will be a big problem for me, even more so for you." Jiang Fan curled his lips, feeling speechless. "Since I let you in, there's no issue. You don't need to be so restrained. As long as you're not noisy, feel free." With that, he plopped down on the jade-carved long chair. The cool comfort immediately spread through his body, and strands of spiritual power continuously flowed into him. It made his body extremely comfortable. Not bad, the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's auction house indeed has something to offer. Jiang Fan secretly praised it. At least in terms of the private room experience, they spared no effort. Such effort could attract many strong individuals to come. And after enjoying such a luxurious setting, who would hold back from bidding? However, this action made Ling Guihai unable to bear it anymore. Jiang Fan, Ling Guihai shouted angrily, his face showing obvious rage. What exactly are you trying to do? Get off it right now, he was furious. That elder could come in at any time. If he found someone else sitting in his jade-carved chair, would he be happy? By then, he'd throw them all out in anger. Jiang Fan frowned, saying, this private room was prepared for me. What I do is my freedom. But you're really noisy. If you keep shouting, get out. Seeing everyone in high spirits, Jiang Fan allowed them in for a look. But Ling Guihai's constant nagging was really annoying. Jai Ryu was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. Did you hear that? He said this private room was prepared for him. Oh my God, am I hallucinating? The elite disciples also twitched their mouths. They whispered among themselves. Is this guy crazy? Several great elders from other sects are here, yet they don't qualify for the #1 private room. Even if he were Xia Cao's martial uncle, he'd never qualify to sit here. Liu Qingxian was also bewildered by Jiang Fan's words. She whispered, Jiang Fan, why are you talking nonsense? You'll offend people this way. If word got out that the Green Cloud Sect's disciple, Jiang Fan, occupied the #1 private room under false pretenses, it wouldn't just anger the elder who was supposed to arrive. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion auction house would blacklist Jiang Fan for life. Ling Guihai slammed the table in anger, unable to tolerate it any longer, and roared, ignorant fool. I brought you in as a favor. Do you dare to take advantage of me? Get out. Get out right now. You're not welcome here. Jiang Fan's face turned cold. Sitting on the jade-carved long chair, he showed no intention of getting up, instead coldly saying, the ones who should leave are you. All of you are too noisy. Get out of here. Kindness was seen as a liver of a donkey. A group of ungrateful wretches. Liu Qingxian was startled. She almost didn't recognize Jiang Fan anymore. Wasn't he usually humble? How could he be so unreasonable and inconsiderate? Occupying the elder's seat and wanting to kick others out. Should the elder or the auction house staff see this, he'd be in deep trouble. Squeak, fear became reality. Just as the atmosphere was taut, the door to the private room opened. Chen Luoyu walked in, holding a jade box filled with spiritual tea, her face beaming with a smile. Seeing so many people at once, she was stunned. So many people. Aunt, Ling Guihai hurriedly greeted, these are all my friends. All the elites showed their respect. Vice President Chen Luoyu frowned. She had asked her nephew to come alone, so why did he invite so many friends? With such noise, what if they disturbed Jiang Fan? Guihai, you weren't making noise here, were you? She carefully glanced at Jiang Fan and noticed his displeased expression, causing her heart to skip a beat. Ling Guihai found it amusing. Wasn't Jiang Fan supposed to be untamed? Retribution came just in time. He maintained a serious face. Aunt, my friends are very well behaved and did not make any noise. Chen Luoyu felt relieved. Then she became perplexed again. If that was the case, why did Jiang Fan look unhappy? Ling Guihai's next words left her cold as ice. The one making noise is this person named Jiang Fan. Ling Guihai sneered and glanced at Jiang Fan. It's bad enough that he shamelessly followed me in. He wouldn't listen to instructions. I told him not to touch things and he kept touching everything. And he had the audacity to sit on the jade-carved bench. Does he have any self-awareness? Hearing this, Chen Luoyu's heart sank, but the next words made her feel even worse. Do you know what's even more ridiculous, Aunt? Ling Guihai couldn't help but laugh. I told him to get out, and guess what? He said we were the noisy ones and told us to get out. Isn't that ridiculous? The elites around laughed out loud. Vice President Chen, I can testify that junior brother Ling is telling the truth. This person is indeed absurd, acting as if he owns the private box. Liu Qingxian looked apologetic. She hurriedly said, Vice President Chen, my junior brother is not usually like this. Please. Her plea was interrupted by Jai Ryu's cold sneer. Why waste so many words? Why not just kick him out? Is this a place he can stay? However, no sooner had she finished speaking than Chen Luoyu's sharp gaze fell upon her, and she slapped her furiously. Shut up! Chen Luoyu was infuriated. She had painstakingly arranged for the top private box just to treat Jiang Fan well. And yet these people with no discernment had the audacity to mock Jiang Fan. Utterly outrageous. Jai Ryu was stunned, covering her cheek, and looked at Ling Guihai in confusion. Her eyes were filled with grievance. Ling Guihai was also astonished. Aunt, why did you hit my friend? The one who deserves to be hit is that scoundrel Jiang Fan. Slap. A slap, several times fiercer than the previous one, landed hard on Ling Guihai's face. Chen Luoyu gritted her teeth in anger and scolded. Ling Guihai, you're a good-for-nothing. She had wanted to give him a chance since he was her nephew. If Ling Guihai performed well, perhaps Ling Jia could climb up like Wen Shengnan and latch onto a great soul master. But what had this brat done? Bringing along a bunch of dubious friends to disturb Jiang Fan's enjoyment was bad enough, and he even led the slander, calling Jiang Fan a scoundrel. Aunt, you... Ling Guihai covered his face in disbelief. How could his aunt hit him too? Chen Luoyu was furious. Young Master Jiang is a distinguished guest I invited. I asked you to serve him tea to take good care of him. What have you done? Her voice echoed in the empty private box, reverberating continuously. Everyone stood as stiff as wooden stakes, unable to believe their ears. The distinguished guest Chen Luoyu mentioned was really Jiang Fan. Earlier, when Shengnan had allowed them to enter not because Ling Guihai was in trouble, but because Jiang Fan had given permission. And Jiang Fan could act freely here, because the private box belonged to him. After scolding her niece, Chen Luoyu nervously approached Jiang Fan and apologized. Young Master Jiang, I apologize for my nephew's behavior. I'll have Wen Shengnan come to serve you. Jiang Fan waved his hand, no need for special attendance. Just have them all leave. Chen Luoyu turned to the dazed Ling Guihai, her frustration growing. Are you deaf? Take your friends and get out. You've ruined everything, and from now on, don't call me your aunt. I don't have such a disappointing nephew. Ling Guihai's throat felt blocked, and he couldn't utter a word. Like a piece of wood, he stiffly moved to leave. The other elites also left in disgrace. It turned out they were in there because of Jiang Fan, yet they had mocked him repeatedly. Jai Ryu bit her red lip, looking at Jiang Fan. She wanted to approach him, but Chen Luoyu's glare stopped her. Reluctantly, she had to leave for now. She was extremely annoyed. What was she thinking? How could she be wrong about the same person twice? She wished she could slap herself. After clearing everyone out, Chen Luoyu apologized profusely again. Jiang Fan said, Forget it, it wasn't your fault. Moreover, you had good intentions, so how can I blame you? Saying this, he took out 3 revitalizing pills. If these pills can be auctioned, extend my thanks. Chen Luoyu, with her keen gaze, immediately recognized the unusual quality of the spirit pills and accepted them with joy. Very well, I'll have them appraised first. If they are valuable, I'll ensure they go to auction for you. When the room finally only had 2 people left, Liu Qingxian could no longer suppress her immense curiosity. Jiang Fan, how come you're the owner of the top private box? Jiang Fan took out Chen Luoyu's invitation, smiling in exasperation. How would I know? I was suddenly given this top private box. Had I known it would cause so much trouble, I wouldn't have come. Liu Qingxian examined the invitation, equally puzzled. It doesn't make sense. Even if you offered the Gale Pearl as an auction item, you should be considered just a significant client. Why are they giving you such special treatment? This high level of honor is almost like that for a sect master. She glanced at the top-grade spiritual tea on the table, commenting. Jiang Fan smiled and patted the seat next to him. Well, since we're here, let's just enjoy it. Liu Qingxian gave Jiang Fan a deep look. Deciding not to overthink, she picked up her skirt and happily sat on the jade-carved bench. Through the crystal glass at the front, she had a clear view of everything on the auction stage. Backstage, the auction staff were busy with the final preparations. President Tian Shizhen was checking the auction items that were about to go up. Su Xianquan and Chen Luoyu's collected items were separate, as they would host the auction themselves later. After a quick assessment, Tian Shizhen said, It seems Vice President Su's auction items will fetch a higher total this time. Accompanying him, Su Xianquan stroked his beard and smiled. Vice President Chen just happened to have a client with good stuff this time. How can that compare to my extensive network? Tian Shizhen nodded slightly in approval. The older, the wiser. Your pre-prepared healing pills will be the hot items at this auction and will fetch a good price. Su Xianquan boasted. I had planned for this day long before the beast tide appeared. So I collected the best 3rd-grade healing spirit pills from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Now, anyone who wants to buy them can only get them from me. Tian Shizhen was very pleased. Although Su Xianquan was domineering, his abilities were undisputed. Compared to him, Chen Luoyu seemed a bit too inexperienced. She would find it hard to compete with Su Xianquan. Before long, when he retired from the presidency, Su Xianquan would undoubtedly be the best candidate for the position. At that moment, Chen Luoyu came running in excitedly. President, I obtained 3 spirit pills. Could you appraise them? Oh, Tian Shizhen frowned. The auction is about to start. Every auction item was meticulously selected. Including these 3 pills into the auction would mean excluding an item. Su Xianquan laughed confidently. President, let's take a look at them. I'd like to see what quality pills she found at the last minute. Appraise them and let her give up. Tian Shijian sighed. All right, let me see. But I must say, if they aren't top-level pills, there is no need to auction them. We don't want to disrupt. He couldn't finish the sentence. Seeing the 3 green pills in Chen Luoyu's palm, he froze. A third-grade spirit pill? Tian Shijian looked at Chen Luoyu with a look of disbelief as he gazed at the 3 spirit pills lying quietly in her snow-white palm. His face was full of incredulity. All third-grade spirit pills in the entire 9-sect land came from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. These 3 spirit pills in front of him, he had never seen them before. They were definitely not from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Su Xianquan also looked surprised. Not from our Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Vice President Chen, where did you get them? This was no small matter. This indicated that within the 9-sect land, there were other 3-star soul masters. If this news were to spread back to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, it would undoubtedly cause an enormous upheaval. Chen Luoyu said proudly, "What, Vice President Su, are you trying to inquire about our guest's identity?" This was a taboo at the auction house. The identity of any client was only known to their corresponding vice president. Others were absolutely forbidden to investigate. Otherwise, if a client's identity were to be leaked, in the mildest cases, they would be harassed. In the worst cases, they could be killed. Could the auction house bear this responsibility? Tian Shijian also gave Su Xianquan a stern look. Vice President Su, you're an old hand, don't you understand this rule yet? We only recognize items, not people at the auction house. Although he too was extremely curious about who had refined these pills. But the rules were in place, and even as the president, he couldn't overstep them. Su Xianquan, after being scolded, felt unpleasant in his heart. Looking at these few spirit pills, he said, "Not all third-grade spirit pills are good things. If the effects are not suitable, there may not be any buyers." This, Chen Luoyu couldn't help but worry either. What he said wasn't wrong. The third grade just indicated a higher grade, but if the effects were too niche, very few people would buy them. She didn't know what kind of spirit pills Jiang Fan had refined. Tian Shijian's attention was on the spirit pills, and he said with curiosity, "Since they are third-grade spirit pills, they are naturally worth a good appraisal." He picked one up, then carefully took out an incredibly precious magic artifact. It was a palm-sized jade tripod, surrounded by countless runes. Tian Shijian placed the pill inside, then channeled spiritual power to activate the runes. Soon, the small jade tripod started to spin gently. The runes flickered irregularly, seemingly analyzing the pill. Chen Luoyu watched anxiously. If the 3 spirit pills were highly valuable, she would have the hope to surpass Su Xianquan and become the vice president with the highest auction amount this time. When the president stepped down, she would have the chance to take over. Su Xianquan, however, was unimpressed, confidently saying, "No matter how good it is, can it be better than my third-grade healing spirit pill? This pill is currently the most sought-after spirit pill." Crack, as the small jade tripod slowly came to a stop. The runes projected a piece of glowing text into the air. Revitalizing pill, third-grade spirit pill, one of the ancient 9 healing spirit pills. Can heal internal injuries, bone injuries, and flesh injuries. Of astonishing value, rated at the heaven level. Everyone was stunned. They all had faces of disbelief. The treasures of the auction house were categorized into 4 levels: heaven, earth, mysterious, and yellow. Among them, items at the yellow level were eligible to be auctioned. Those at the mysterious level were popular auction items. The earth-level items were usually the grand finale, and the heaven level, naturally, were the grandest of the grand finales. But they were so rare that it was possible to see a heaven-level auction item only once in every 10 auctions. Swallowing hard, Tian Shijian said, "Vice President Chen, where exactly did you?" Even he almost couldn't resist breaking the rule to inquire about the source. This pill was simply too astonishing. One of the ancient 9 healing pills, heaven level. Su Xianquan's old eyes widened in disbelief. The effect of this pill was several times better than the healing spirit pill from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Chen Luoyu, covering her red lips, had eyes filled with deep shock. What kind of soul master had she attached herself to? Even long-lost ancient spirit pills could be refined. Then, with a face full of surprise, she said, "Then how should this pill be handled?" Coming to his senses, Tian Shijian's face showed fervor. "Do you even need to ask? Naturally, it will be the second-to-last auction item." auctioned together with another heaven-level auction item in Box 1. Jiang Fan and Liu Qingxian, who had been waiting rather boredly, finally saw the auction begin. Su Xianquan went on stage, smiling all the way. "Friends, welcome to this touring auction. As per the old rules, the first auction item will be presented by me." He took out a magic artifact. It was a large, glowing blade, and its grade had reached top grade. Mysterious level auction item, a high-grade treasured blade, starting bid at 1,000 crystal stones. Jiang Fan slightly clicked his tongue. Is this daylight robbery? A mid-grade magic artifact costs only 200 crystal stones, and a high-grade one costs 1,000. Liu Qingxian, used to such things, said, "A high-grade and mid-grade are different. The difference between the two is like heaven and earth. 1,000 is considered few. Just watch, the final price will exceed your imagination." Really, Jiang Fan had always used low and mid-grade items. Could the gap between high-grade magic artifacts and them be that huge? Soon, the bidding began. Elite disciples from various peaks and martial artists from different families began to bid one after another. Finally, it reached a sky-high price of 5,000 crystal stones. Is a high-grade magic artifact worth this much? Jiang Fan finally saw firsthand. Liu Qingxian said, "People who use blades are fewer. If it were a sword, it would at least reach 10,000. Gasp! Jiang Fan secretly marveled. High-grade magic artifacts were so expensive. He wondered about the value of the purple sword he carried on his back, which was at the spiritual artifact level. Su Xianquan was very satisfied with the price of this sword. Next, Chen Luoyu took the stage and put up a defensive armor for sale. With a sweet voice and a beautiful appearance, she said, "This is an Earth-level auction item, a top-grade defensive armor. It can withstand attacks from experts below the 5th level of core formation. During this beast tide, there are said to be many demon beasts at the core formation level. Having this armor would make you much safer." The audience exploded with excitement. Vice President Chen has such boldness, opening with an Earth-level auction item. It seems she has many heavyweight items in her hand, otherwise she wouldn't dare start with an Earth-level auction item. Every auctioneer would present a high-level item first, to attract interest and keep the crowd watching, but starting with an Earth-level item made people guess wildly. "Vice President Chen, how much is the starting price? Myriad Sword Sect wants it." From the audience. An elder from the Spirit Beast Sect couldn't wait. The fact that even an elder couldn't stay seated showed how desirable this item was. Chen Luoyu graciously said, "It's a rare top-grade spiritual artifact. Let's start at the market price. 20,000 crystal stones." Jiang Fan's eyes shone with excitement. He had experienced the benefits of a protective armor. Back when he killed the white crystal beast, the Meridian mysterious iron armor from the Carefree Peak played a significant role. And that was only a mid-grade magic artifact. Now in front of him was a top-grade defensive armor. How could he not want to buy it? However, the next moment, Jiang Fan was tongue-tied. He saw firsthand what it meant to be wealthy. 30,000 crystal stones, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000. In just a few moments, the price had surged to 60,000 crystal stones, far exceeding 3 times the market price. 70,000, Giant Sect wants it? An elder from the Giant Sect called out the highest price in the entire venue with an air of undeniable determination. Seeing this, the other bidders gave up. Chen Luoyu was overjoyed. Usually 3,000 would be hard to sell, but with the beast tide as a backdrop, the price of life-saving items soared. 70,000 once, 70,000 twice, 70,000, just as she was about to strike the hammer. A calm voice came from Box 1. 80,000. Liu Qingxian was dumbstruck. Jiang Fan held down the little jade lion and let his voice carry forth. "Are you crazy? Spending 80,000 crystal stones on this?" What did 80,000 crystal stones mean? Even an elder would feel immense pain in parting with such a sum, yet Jiang Fan didn't hesitate to shout it out. And what he was buying was a piece of defensive armor. Among the myriad of magic artifacts, defensive armor was the least valued. With that much money, wouldn't it be better to buy some powerful offensive magic artifacts? Jiang Fan calmly replied, "Facing a beast tide, killing countless beasts comes second. Saving one's life is the primary task. Spending 80,000 crystal stones for a life, I think it's worth it." In his mind, this was even more important than healing pills. Liu Qingxian had no argument. She could only display a painful expression. "You really don't treat money as money?" A commotion echoed below among the guests. "Who is in box number 1? daring enough to compete with the Giant Sect for an auction item. Don't they know how domineering the Giant Sect is? Do you have some misunderstanding about box number 1? The ones who can enjoy box number 1, aren't they either a sect elder or high-level officials from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion? You should be asking, does the Giant Sect have the guts to fight against the one in box number 1? Sure enough. The Giant Sect's box remained silent for a while, then an aged voice rang out. Friend in box number 1, we of the Giant Sect will yield this armor to you. Jiang Fan breathed a sigh of relief. Box number 1 had indeed saved him a lot of money. If not, the other party wouldn't have given up so easily. The price could have possibly exceeded 100,000. Chen Luoyu brought the armor to box number 1 with delight. Young Master Jiang, thank you for your patronage. Jiang Fan smiled as he brought out the crystal token. Originally, he did feel a pinch. But upon thinking that the money all came at a hiked price from the Supreme Elders, he felt instantly relieved. He was spending the Supreme Elders' money. Why feel pain? Seeing the crystal token, Chen Luoyu couldn't help but secretly marvel. Jiang Fan was indeed an extraordinary person, even having the crystal token used by elders, sect masters, or senior officials of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. She carefully accepted it and returned with 20,000 crystal stones to him. Leaving the armor behind, she retreated backward and left. The auction items that followed were nowhere near as thrilling as the first one. He didn't make another bid. Until Chen Luoyu brought out the Gale Pearl, the auction room surged with excitement again. It's the Gale Pearl, a single stepped across 10 yards Gale Pearl. This is an extremely rare treasure in heaven and earth. When facing a beast tide, this is an unrivaled life-saving divine artifact. 10,000 crystal stones, my Huang family wants it. Dream on. You can't even get it for 10,000 crystal stones in normal times, and now with the beast tide looming, you think you'll get it for 10,000, as expected. When Chen Luoyu announced a starting price of 10,000, various sects and families began increasing their bids, finally with the sound of the auction hammer hitting thrice. Giant Sect, 20,000 crystal stones, congratulations, Liu Qingxian murmured. It actually sold for 20,000 crystal stones. She touched the other Gale Pearl hanging from her neck. Unable to resist gazing at Jiang Fan, her eyes and heart were filled with sweetness. Soon after, Chen Luoyu came over with 19,000 crystal stones. Young Master Jiang, others take a 10% commission, but I applied to the president to take only a 5% commission from you. This saved 1,000 crystal stones. Jiang Fan nodded. Thank you. The auction was reaching its final stages. The items presented next would all be heavyweight treasures. With these 19,000 crystal stones, he could participate to his heart's content. This time it was Su Xianquan's turn to come on stage. He took out a bottle of pills, raised his head, and said, This is the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's 3rd-grade healing spirit pill, 100 spirit pills. No matter how deep the wounds, they can be healed within half a day. The audience was instantly invigorated. The claws and teeth of demon beasts were extremely lethal to thin-bodied martial artists. Such spirit pills that could heal wounds in half a day were life-saving elixirs. Especially in an environment full of dangers, each pill was equivalent to saving half a life. Elder Su, we all know about the 100 spirit pill. Just announce the starting bid. Once again, it was the Giant Sect's elder, speaking with an overwhelming aura. Su Xianquan laughed heartily. All right, I won't waste words. 100 spirit pills, 10 pills, starting bid 1,000 crystal stones. As soon as the words left his mouth, the Giant Sect elder readily declared, 10,000 crystal stones? What? The crowd was stunned, starting with 10,000. This put many competing forces out of action on the spot. One pill was worth 1,000 crystal stones, in box number 1. Liu Qingxian excitedly said, Bid quickly, Jiang Fan. In her view, these life-saving pills were far more practical than any armor. Jiang Fan pouted, Why do we need this stuff? Didn't I already give you a bottle? The effect of the revitalizing pill was 10 times better than these so-called 100 spirit pills. Liu Qingxian was speechless, but the 100 spirit pill is a 3rd-grade spirit pill from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. Could your pills heal wounds? Jiang Fan rolled his eyes. Then give them back. Liu Qingxian turned her head away as if she hadn't heard. She hummed lightly. You want to take back a gift? No way. Below, with countless people sighing, the entire bottle of 100 spirit pills was bought by the Giant Sect. Next, Chen Luoyu stepped onto the stage. She smiled and took out a portion of pathway powder. Presumably, most elite disciples are here for this, right? That's right, it's the legendary pathway powder, a spirit pill to break through the core formation realm. Its effects surpass the pills of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion by 3 times. The success rate of a breakthrough is nearly 90%. As soon as this object appeared, the eyes of all the elite disciples shone brightly, and the accompanying elders all perked up. They stared unblinkingly at the pathway powder. Obtaining this meant adding a core formation realm martial artist to their sect. It was worth any price. Chen Luoyu smiled gently. Since this item has never appeared before, there's no reference for a base price. Everyone bid freely. As soon as those words were spoken, the giant sect elder declared forcefully, 10,000 crystal stones, our giant sect wants it. HMPH, 10,000 crystal stones for a core formation realm martial artist. Wishful thinking. My myriad sword sect offers 20,000 crystal stones. The spirit beast sect desires this too, 23,000 crystal stones. Supreme sect, 30,000 crystal stones. Desire sect, 34,000 crystal stones. The unprecedented wave of bidding left Chen Luoyu ecstatic. Pathway powder was far more popular than expected. Finally, after intense bidding, the myriad sword sect spent a total of 50,000 crystal stones and successfully won it. In box number 1, Liu Qingxian was dumbstruck. The one you gave me before, was it this one? Jiang Fan nodded. Liu Qingxian grabbed Jiang Fan's shoulders and shook him repeatedly. Are you crazy? That's a treasure worth 50,000 crystal stones. Giving it to me was a waste, wasn't it? Selling me wouldn't fetch that many crystal stones. Her current feelings were indescribable. There was joy, but also an unspeakable heaviness. Jiang Fan smiled mysteriously. Don't worry, it's not over yet. The 100 spirit pill could be sold for 10,000 each. So there's no reason the revitalizing pill would be any less valuable. After all, he had given Liu Qingxian a full 10 of them, with Chen Luoyu delivering 47,500 crystal stones. At this moment, he already had 630,000 crystal stones in hand, enough to bid on anything he desired. At this moment, Su Xianquan solemnly stepped onto the stage. He held a jade box in his hands. The surface was densely covered with 7 or 8 sealing talismans, as if there was something extraordinary within the jade box. The elders present all wore solemn expressions with a hint of excitement. Clearly, this was what they came for. Su Xianquan declared gravely, I think the elders here already know what this is. That's right. It's a nascent soul one-strike jade talisman. It was discovered by our Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion experts during an exploration of the Dacian dynasty ruins. According to our tests, its spirituality has somewhat faded, and its power is not as great as it once was. But it still can reach the first layer of the nascent soul realm. I don't need to explain what that means. Swish, Jiang Fan sat up abruptly. Liu Qingxian also stood up in shock, walking to the glass to observe. Her delicate face was full of astonishment. A nascent soul one-strike jade talisman. Hiss, with this jade talisman, who in 9-sect land could withstand a single strike? Even the 9-sect masters wouldn't escape death. Doesn't the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion fear causing chaos among the 9 sects by auctioning such a dangerous item? Jiang Fan was also visibly shocked. No wonder this auction attracted the powerhouses of all the major sects. It turned out to be such an incredible item. The interest in his eyes burned brightly. If he had it, what would there be to fear from the beast tide? Counting his 630,000 crystal stones, Jiang Fan couldn't help but frown deeply. This amount might still not be enough. Su Xianquan was very pleased with the reactions from all sides. He announced with a modulated tone, the nascent soul one-strike jade talisman, a heaven-level auction item. Starting bid, 10,000. Our giant sect bids 50,000. The giant sect elder's bid was an astronomical figure that dashed the hopes of all martial path families. But the elders present were all here under the orders of their sects. They were determined to get this item. Whoever possessed this jade talisman would have an invincible weapon for their sect. From then on, no other sect would dare provoke them. Otherwise, a single strike from the talisman would make the sect master perish in grief. Myriad Sword Sect, 60,000. Spirit Beast Sect, 70,000. Supreme Sect, 80,000. The bidding continued. Jiang Fan wore a bitter smile. 60,000 crystal stones were far from enough. Competing for something that all the 9 sects desired was beyond a disciple like him. In the end, the giant sect elder shouted a staggering bid of 200,000 crystal stones, halting the frantic bidding. Liu Qingxian marveled, 200,000. Our entire green Cloud Sect's annual expenditure is less than 200,000. The giant sect really went all out. Jiang Fan remarked. A nascent soul one-strike jade talisman worth 200,000 is not much at all. With this jade talisman in hand, the benefits Giant Sect could reap would far exceed 200,000. Imagine when Giant Sect competes for territory with neighboring sects, who would dare to contend if they bring out this jade talisman. And the profit a piece of territory yields in the long run would certainly be more than 200,000. Moreover, as long as the talisman is not used, Giant Sect could intimidate many. Hearing this analysis, Liu Qingxian glared hatefully at Feng Guchen. If this is so, why does the Great Elder just sit like a wooden statue without fighting for it? The other 8 sects were madly competing, but only the Green Cloud Sect stayed silent. Jiang Fan shook his head. If the jade talisman is one, who should keep it? Of course, the Green Cloud Sect master, Liu Qingxian replied instinctively. Only after speaking did she realize why Feng Guchen hadn't competed. Now, even without the jade talisman, Liu Wuchen can barely suppress him. If Liu Wuchen had the talisman, Feng Guchen would never recover. So, for his benefit, he would never allow the Green Cloud Sect to get the talisman. That old man, for his benefit, he disregards the sect's interest, Liu Qingxian angrily said. Jiang Fan retorted, who made you appoint him to bid? At this moment, Chen Luoyu stepped onto the stage with great pressure. She relied on treasures like the Gale Pearl and Pathway Powder to acquire enormous auction amounts, far surpassing Su Xianquan. Now, with a nascent soul one-strike jade talisman, Su Xianquan not only returned from disadvantage, but also exceeded her by 40,000 crystal stones. Could the last 3 revitalizing pills turn the tide? With trepidation, she took out 3 revitalizing pills. The audience below looked bewildered. Is this the Vice President Chen's final auction item? I thought it would be something astonishing like an attack jade talisman. Some pills, and she dares claim them as heaven-level auction items. Not interested, goodbye. As soon as the display began, the audience lost interest and began to leave. Chen Luoyu grew anxious and immediately introduced. This is one of the ancient 9 healing spirit pills, called the revitalizing pill. It has miraculous effects on both internal and external injuries. However, the audience remained indifferent. As a final auction item, it was typically extremely expensive. Even if they needed life-saving spirit pills, no one wanted to pay the exorbitant price usually reserved for final auction items. Gradually, more and more guests stood up. Some elders also began leaving their boxes, but at this moment, from one of the boxes came a suspicious voice. Revitalizing pill. Vice President Chen, are you sure this is the pill? I once discussed this pill with a 3-star soul master from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. He said this pill is comparable to an immortal pill. Having one can ensure survival. Chen Luoyu hurriedly confirmed. That's right, it has been verified, it's indeed the revitalizing pill. Shang Yuansheng pondered. May I verify it on the spot? If it truly is a revitalizing pill, I am willing to buy it at a high price. Chen Luoyu was eager for a reputable elder to vouch for the revitalizing pill. She immediately agreed. Thus, Shang Yuansheng stepped out of the box and came onto the stage. The departing guests, seeing the renowned Shang Yuansheng, were moved. They realized that the revitalizing pill must truly be something special. So they sat back down, waiting for Shang Yuansheng's verification. Shang Yuansheng took out a small jade knife, gently scraping some powder from a revitalizing pill. He showed it to everyone and said, though the fields of alchemy and our medical path are different, there's some overlap. While I may not judge pills that enhance cultivation, but when it comes to healing pills, I am confident in my assessment. His words carried great trust among everyone. Healing fell within the medical path field. In this area, Shang Yuansheng was a top-level authority in 9-sect land. Everyone watched patiently. They saw Shang Yuansheng carefully sniff the powder and his face showed approval. Fragrance is delicate with strong vitality. Truly, an excellent healing pill. But how effective it is requires testing. He extended his arm, slicing his own with the knife under everyone's admiring gaze, using himself as the test subject. Blood immediately gushed out, and the wound was deep to the bone. Shang Yuansheng endured the pain and applied the powder to the wound. And then a scene that caused everyone to stand up occurred. Their faces were filled with shock. They couldn't believe what was happening before their eyes. Only to see, on divine Dr. Shang Yuan's arm, the deep wound to the bone, after sprinkling a small amount of powder. It miraculously started to heal. In just 10 breaths, the wound was fully restored without leaving a single scar. Divine Dr. Shang Yuan looked excited. External injuries stop bleeding with medicine. This is indeed the effect of the revitalizing pill. The rumors are not false at all. Everyone's eyes were burning with intensity. This spirit pill is too miraculous, isn't it? It can actually restore such a serious external injury on the spot. Having one on you, aren't you unafraid of the sharp claws and fangs of demon beasts? No wonder Vice President Chen made it the final highlight. I was too superficial. This pill is indeed worthy of being a heaven-level auction item. However, this was not the end. Divine Dr. Xiangyuan looked at the 3 green spirit pills and said excitedly, "The revitalizing pill not only stops bleeding on external injuries, but can also renew broken bones in half a day and cure internal injuries with medicine. Any injury can be healed in a short time. In the face of a beast tide, having one is like carrying an extra life." Chen Luoyu was dumbfounded. She did not expect the effect of the revitalizing pill to be so heaven-defying. Seeing the pair of ardently burning eyes in the audience, Chen Luoyu took a deep breath and said, "Thank you, Divine Dr. Xiangyuan, for the appraisal. I won't elaborate on its preciousness. The auction starts now and the bid method is free bidding. No starting price usually means its value is extremely amazing." Sure enough, someone immediately bid 200,000, but that was just the beginning. Each sect hoped their most elite and talented disciples could stay alive, so they all spared no expense in increasing the price. In the end, Myriad Sword's sect bought the 3 revitalizing pills for a sky-high price of 600,000. On average, one revitalizing pill sold for a sky-high price of 200,000. One must know, a pathway powder to break through the core formation realm sold for only 500,000 crystals. It showed how valuable life-saving items were in the face of the beast tide. Sitting in the jade-carved chair, Liu Qingxian's hand holding the teacup suddenly let go, smashing it to pieces on the ground. She seemed unaware, a face full of disbelief. 200,000 for one? She hurriedly took out a whole bottle of revitalizing pills, carefully counting. There were 10 in total. Doesn't this mean this bottle of revitalizing pills is worth exactly 2 million crystals? Jiang Fan, I cannot accept this. She felt like her palms could hardly hold this jade bottle anymore. It is too precious. Jiang Fan laughed lightly. It is just some dead objects. No matter how precious, how can it compare to senior sister? Liu Qingxian was moved in her heart. It's worth 2 million crystals, but in Jiang Fan's eyes it was not as valuable as her. A feeling of being valued circled in her heart. But how can I repay you? Holding the jade bottle, Liu Qingxian felt a heavy burden. Jiang Fan smiled gently. Senior sister has misunderstood. It is I who should repay you. Since joining the sect, senior sister has cared for and looked after me, and I appreciate it greatly. In this dangerous beast tide, both of us may fall. Giving you this spirit pill as a token of my gratitude. May we both return safely." When hearing this, Liu Qingxian was even more touched. Yes, this beast tide was so vast. Even the 9 sect might not be spared. Not everyone might return alive. Thinking that she or Jiang Fan might never meet again, a sour feeling welled up in her heart. She bit her red lips lightly, suddenly said, "I will also give you a gift. Close your eyes." "Oh, really?" Jiang Fan smiled and closed his eyes expectantly. Then a fragrant breeze came. His lips were touched by 2 soft, moist lips. Opening his eyes, Liu Qingxian's beautiful face was right in front of him. The 2 soft lips touched and parted. Jiang Fan stared blankly at Liu Qingxian, his mind empty. Liu Qingxian's face turned red, and her eyes were watery, overflowing with shyness. Usually articulate, she was now stammering. Her red lips opened several times, but she couldn't say a word from her heart. In the end, she only said, "Take care," and left in a hurry. Jiang Fan touched the moist spot on his lips, still feeling like he was in a dream, until Chen Luoyu came over gratefully holding the crystals. "Young Master Jiang, thanks to your great support, I surpassed Su Xianquan in auction total. Thus my competition with him for the president's position remains uncertain. It is unclear who will win." Understanding the meaning, Jiang Fan said, "If there are good items in the future, I will still give them to you for auction." Chen Luoyu was overjoyed. Winning against Su Xianquan once was not enough to convince everyone, but winning every time, she would certainly obtain the president's position. "Thank you, young Master Jiang. Thank you, young Master Jiang. By the way, should I help young Master Jiang exchange the crystals for crystal tokens? It would be much more convenient to carry." Jiang Fan agreed without objection. Previously having 630,000, now added 57,000. Adding up, it was a total of 120,500 crystals. Chen Luoyu exchanged 1 million worth of crystal tokens, plus 2 tokens of 100,000 each. The remaining 500 crystals Jiang Fan took as pocket money. Even so, it felt bulky in his pocket. As his cultivation increased, the things on him became more and more. Chen Luoyu also realized this and reminded, "Young Master Jiang, according to insider information, among the rewards from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion this time, there is a space storage device. It has an internal space of 3 yards wide, enough to store many things. If young Master Jiang has enough merit, you can try to exchange for it." Oh, Jiang Fan's heart shook. Sumeru space, he had seen it countless times in ancient books. He did not expect it to actually exist in the world, and it was among the exchange rewards this time. He had too many things that should not be seen by others, like the purple sword on his back, the mysterious wooden box left by his father, and the jade scroll of the Nie Yunzhuo technique, etc. If not kept well, he might accidentally lose them someday. Only having a space storage device could let him rest easy. The motivation to hunt demon beasts increased. After packing up, he happily returned to the sect, unexpectedly. As soon as he reached the foot of Sect Master Peak, an outer sect disciple rushed to report. "Senior Brother Jiang, don't return to the peak for now. Elder Tai Bubai from the giant sect is threatening the sect master to hand you over." This outer sect disciple had received a low-grade foundation establishment pill from Jiang Fan before and was very grateful. Now he came promptly to deliver the news. Jiang Fan was stunned. "Why, I haven't provoked the giant sect," he wondered in his heart. Could it be that Su Gangli's death had been discovered? But it should be impossible. Su Gangli died deep in the mountains. Only he himself and Qin Wenyuan, who had fled far, knew about it. It should not have been exposed. The outer sect disciple angrily said, "Isn't it because Sect Master Kong's nephew, Kong Wushwang, challenged you and was defeated? Somehow, he was seriously injured and has not yet awakened. The giant sect blames you for being too heavy-handed and wants to take you back to the giant sect for interrogation." Jiang Fan laughed in anger. Kong Wushwang was just knocked out, not seriously hurt. If there had been serious injuries, Kong Yuanba would have seen it on the spot and confronted the Green Cloud Sect. How could it be that they found out so late? Who knows how Kong Wushwang got injured afterwards? They just wanted to blame it on the Green Cloud Sect. He snorted coldly. "An elder dares to act arrogantly in my Green Cloud Sect?" The outer sect disciple said helplessly. "Tai Bubai is indeed an elder, but he just auctioned a nascent soul jade token?" Outrageous. Jiang Fan's eyes turned cold. The giant sect was truly domineering. Having just obtained a nascent soul jade token, they wanted to make a spectacle out of the Green Cloud Sect. And they set their eyes on him. "Senior Brother Jiang, you should go outside and lay low for a while," the outer sect disciple suggested. "Come back when the heat has died down. If they can't find you, maybe the elders of the giant sect will leave." Jiang Fan shook his head slightly. "What the giant sect wants is not just me. They want to establish their might to scare the 9-sect land as a warning. If they can't find me, they will make other harsh demands." The outer sect disciple suddenly understood. He immediately smiled wryly. "What should we do then? With this jade token in their hands, the giant sect will act as they please." Jiang Fan frowned deeply. Yes, the problem was still with that nascent soul jade token. As long as it existed, the giant sect would reign supreme for one more day. Even if they didn't trouble the Green Cloud Sect today, they would in the future. Sigh, has the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion gone mad, releasing such a dangerous thing? The outer sect disciple sighed helplessly. If only we could steal that jade token back. Then the giant sect wouldn't dare to act so recklessly. But the token is in their hands. Who dares to steal it? Huh. Jiang Fan's eyes widened suddenly. A thought flashed in his mind. After careful analysis, he felt it was quite feasible. Stealing might be hard, but stealing not necessarily impossible. He quickly ran back to the peak, heading to his courtyard. At this moment, the little Qilin was lying on a soft, fluffy blanket, sound asleep. It was clutching several spiritual medicines, with half of one still in its mouth. Occasionally, it would move its mouth, making chewing sounds. Jiang Fan showed an expectant expression. "Using soldiers you've raised for 1,000 days, now it's the time. You've eaten so many of my spirit pills and spiritual medicines, it's time to work, right?" He grabbed the little Qilin's tail and shook it in the air. The little Qilin woke up drowsily, flailing its limbs in displeasure and making protesting hums. "Annoying, I was dreaming of lots and lots of food. All ruined by the master," it expressed its dissatisfaction. Jiang Fan laughed, taking out a revitalizing pill. Master will make your dreams come true. At first, the little Qilin didn't care. But after smelling the scent of the pill, its eyes lit up, and it threw away the spiritual medicines in its arms. Then it agilely flipped onto his arm, staring at the revitalizing pill with drooling mouth, its short legs pressed together, deep in longing. Master, give it to me, please, Master, give it to me. Jiang Fan, however, closed his hand, putting away the pill. This made the little Qilin anxious, wailing non-stop and running around on him. The temptation of a third-grade spirit pill was far stronger than those ordinary spiritual medicines. Jiang Fan slightly smiled. If you want to eat it, help me steal something. Get it for me and you can have this pill. The little Qilin tilted its head, scratching it in confusion. But Master, didn't you just scold me a few days ago, telling me not to steal? Why are you now asking me to steal? Jiang Fan blushed. With a solemn face, he said, when a cultured person steals, can it even be called stealing? That's called taking. Help me get a jade token. It's sealed in a jade box. I need you to take it quietly. Can you do that? He was a little worried. After all, the little Qilin could only teleport. But the jade box was narrow, and the little Qilin was really chubby. If it couldn't teleport in, that would be problematic. The little Qilin, however, nodded without hesitation. It's very easy. Thinking this, it immediately started a demonstration. It stood up and opened its mouth toward a nearby spiritual medicine. The next moment, the spiritual medicine suddenly disappeared, appearing in the little Qilin's mouth. Jiang Fan was stunned. You can retrieve things through space. How had he not noticed this before? The little Qilin nodded. Yes, because I found using my paws to grab things and put them in my mouth was tiring. It's more comfortable lying down and letting the food run into my mouth on its own. And then I just learned it. Jiang Fan was speechless. For a moment, he didn't know whether to scold it for being too lazy or marvel at its strong spatial talent. However, this solved Jiang Fan's worries. With this ability to retrieve objects from space, getting that jade token wouldn't be too difficult. By the way, are there any limits? Being cautious, Jiang Fan asked. No matter how divine the spatial retrieval was, there had to be a certain range, right? Surely the little Qilin couldn't grab something from the giant sect 1,000 miles away while standing in the green Cloud Sect. The little Qilin nodded. Within 10 feet only? Just as expected. Fortunately, he asked for clarification. Otherwise, if the theft failed, it would alert the other side. So Jiang Fan picked up an empty bag and slung it over his waist. Hide inside. Later, I will find a way to get within 10 feet of that jade box. You steal the jade token inside it for me. The little Qilin immediately obediently crawled into the bag. Master, rest assured, leave it to me. The sect master hall. Liu Wuchen's face was green with anger. Tai Bubai, you're too presumptuous. Tai Bubai was over 60 years old. Bulky and rugged, his whole body exuded a wild aura like steel. But despite being such a big and burly man, he gave off a very cunning and calculating impression. He sat with his legs crossed, looking pleased and relaxed, listening to Liu Wuchen's rebuke. He extended a finger with a smirk and flicked the jade box, grinning. Sect Master Liu, mind your tone. Liu Wuchen was furious. A mere elder dared to speak to him that way. It was outrageous. But looking at the jade box on the other man's lap, he suppressed his anger and said resolutely, Hand over Jiang Fan? Impossible. Even though he didn't like Jiang Fan. Morally speaking, Jiang Fan injured Kong Wushuang for the sect's honor. Emotionally, he was his disciple. There was no way he would hand him over to the giant sect for punishment. Tai Bubai squinted his eyes and said, Oh, so the Green Cloud Sect wants to taste the power of the nascent soul jade token. Liu Wuchen's face remained cold as he replied, You can try if you want. If I die, at least you won't leave the Green Cloud Sect alive. Tai Bubai's eyelid twitched. The nascent soul jade token's intimidating power was far greater than its actual use. If it couldn't intimidate the other party, its effectiveness would be greatly reduced. But even if Liu Wuchen wasn't afraid, weren't the other elders? Tai Bubai glanced around at the solemn-faced elders and slowly said, Who said I must use it on Sect Master Liu? I could use it on your Great Elder or your Medicine Peak Master or even your Supreme Elder. In any case, with this jade token, I can kill whoever I want. Don't desire death. Hand over Jiang Fan to the giant sect. Upon hearing this, the elders' eyelids twitched, each of them feeling an immense threat. Feng Guchen slammed the table and roared, Sect Master, are you going to risk the lives of all our sect elders for one useless person? The trouble Jiang Fan caused, he should bear the consequences. Liu Wuchen flared up immediately. He rebuked, How dare you say that? Why did you not bid for the last nascent soul jade token? Could our green Cloud Sect not afford the 2 million crystal stones? Feng Guchen fell silent, feeling guilty. If not for his selfish desires, the green Cloud Sect would not be in this neck-cutting dilemma. Tai Bubai's lips curled slightly, his tone relaxed. Of course, I, Tai Bubai, am not unreasonable. If you truly don't want to hand over Jiang Fan, then pay a compensation of 500,000 crystal stones. This was his real intention. Whether or not they handed over Jiang Fan wasn't important. He knew well that Kong Wushwang's coma had nothing to do with Jiang Fan. What mattered was establishing dominance and extorting a hefty sum. Liu Wuchen was outraged. Are you joking? 500,000 crystal stones. To the Green Cloud Sect, 500,000 was an astronomical sum, and it was extortion on top of that. Who could swallow this humiliation? The other elders also glared angrily, firmly refusing to yield. Tai Bubai flicked the jade box again, his tone easy. 500,000 crystal stones or Jiang Fan, choose one. It's your decision. The hall fell silent. They began deliberating, but suddenly a clear voice came from outside the hall. No need to choose. I am here. Everyone turned their heads and their expressions changed. Liu Wuchen saw it was Jiang Fan. Immediately his anger surged and he said, Is he an idiot? He knows the giant sect came with ill intentions, yet he still runs here. When Hong Yao's heart was in her throat as she slapped her thigh and said, Isn't this child walking right into the trap? Zhao Wuji was also speechless. He thinks he's here to save the day. Instead of hiding, he openly runs in. Tai Bubai, who had his legs crossed, had a gleam in his eye. He had no hope of Jiang Fan being taken away. After all, anyone with sense would know to hide. He just wanted to extort something out of this situation. Unexpectedly, this guy was actually unafraid of death and stood up. Jiang Fan gracefully stepped inside and politely saluted Liu Wuchen and the elders. Disciple Jiang Fan greets master and elders. What are you doing here? Get out! Liu Wuchen frowned and shouted. He didn't want Jiang Fan to actually be taken away. He purposely tried to drive him away. When Hong Yao and Zhao Wuji kept giving him signals to leave quickly, otherwise the situation would be difficult to resolve. Jiang Fan stood still and said, Master, I heard the giant sect is here for me. They say I caused Kong Wushwang to fall into unconsciousness. Disciple is not convinced and came to debate. Liu Wuchen was so angry that he was practically fuming. Debate your head. Do you think the giant sect is reasonable? Especially since they have a nascent soul jade token, they are not here to reason. They just found an excuse to extort the Green Cloud Sect. Can't you see that? He was about to explode from Jiang Fan's stupidity. Tai Bubai, however, was laughing uncontrollably. He thought the peer who could defeat Kong Wushwang would be something formidable. Unexpectedly, he was so foolish. Couldn't understand the situation he was in. He leisurely said, Debate. Sorry, I'm not interested. I'm just here to inform you. Now, will you come with me, or does your sect pay 50,000 crystals to atone for you? 50,000 crystals. Jiang Fan laughed coldly in his heart. The giant sect's abacus beads were practically hitting his face. Extort 50,000 from one sect, 4 sects, and they break even. It was simply cost-free and hugely profitable. He blandly said, I am not worth 50,000 crystals. It's better if I go with you. With that, he walked towards Tai Bubai in cooperation. As long as he got within 3 meters, little Qilin could act. Tai Bubai frowned. What use was there in taking Jiang Fan? He was a disciple with no spirit root, wouldn't fetch a few crystals even if sold by weight. Everyone saw that Jiang Fan would rather sacrifice himself than burden the sect. Their expressions changed. Liu Wuchen was frowning as he weighed the pros and cons. When Hong Yao was anxious. This prodigy in the medical path couldn't be taken by the giant sect, right? Moreover, the Supreme Elder favored him so much. If he knew she allowed Jiang Fan to be taken, she'd be in trouble for sure. Sect Master Liu, these 50,000 crystals we from the Medicine Peak will provide. But from now on, Jiang Fan will be a member of Medicine Peak. How about that? What? The elders were stunned. 50,000 crystals, barely acceptable if the sect paid. Each peak tightening their belts for a year wasn't a problem, but for one peak it would mean no crystals for the disciples for years, nor buying training resources. Even so, the peak master might have to use his lifetime savings. Though Medicine Peak was richer, it couldn't bear such a huge cost. Unexpectedly, Zhao Wuji also spoke. Let me pay instead, and in return, Jiang Fan will be a disciple of Carefree Peak. Although 50,000 would cause great loss to Carefree Peak and him personally, the Supreme Elder Huang Zhanshan would be thrilled. Even more unexpected, the elder who despised Jiang Fan the most, Li Qingfeng after a cough, also said, If Elder Wen and Elder Zhao find it difficult, I'll have Heavenly Sword Peak pay. Of course, in return, Jiang Fan will be a Heavenly Sword Peak disciple. Out of 9 elders, 3 were willing to invest 50,000 crystals for Jiang Fan. This left the other 6 elders dumbfounded. Liu Wuchen was stunned. His disciple, who was known as a talentless person, what merit did he have to be valued by so many elders? However, Jiang Fan was his disciple. Where was the reason for him, the master, to let the other elders spend money? It is not necessary. We from the sect Master Peak can afford this 50,000, he could see. Tai Bubai wouldn't stop unless he heavily extorted the green Cloud Sect. First agree, and later when the nascent Soul Jade token is expended. He'd definitely demand it back double. Tai Bubai was visibly surprised. He couldn't help but scrutinize Jiang Fan. He didn't expect this disciple with no spirit root to be so welcomed. So many elders were willing to spend a fortune to atone for him. Rolling his eyes, he thought 50,000 was too little. Immediately said, "I've changed my mind, now it's 100,000 crystals." Bang, crash, Liu Wuchen, Wen Hongyao, Zhao Wuji, and others slapped their tables. Especially Liu Wuchen. Not long ago, the Supreme Elder had just been extorted with an inflated price. And now again? Preposterous, Liu Wuchen roared. Wen Hongyao, Zhao Wuji, and Li Qingfeng also glared angrily. That Tai Bubai, damn him. Tai Bubai said nonchalantly, "If you are unwilling, I can't help it. But I'll take Jiang Fan away." Jiang Fan touched his nose, good one. He had only raised the price of a 5,000 crystal beast whip to 10,000. This guy directly went from 50,000 to 100,000. This bad habit couldn't be tolerated. 100,000. Better take me with you? Jiang Fan walked straight to Tai Bubai. He extended his hands, urging, "Hurry, tie me up." Tai Bubai, extremely cautious, pressed on the jade box on his leg, saying, "Who told you to come closer?" Step back. At that moment, Jiang Fan was only 1 meter away from him. Upon hearing this, he stepped back 1 meter, now 2 meters away. Tai Bubai frowned, "Step back further." With no choice, Jiang Fan took another step back, staying exactly 3 meters away. Only then did Tai Bubai's forehead relax as he forced a smile. "Boy, are you sure? Giant sect martial artists have quite nasty tempers. When the time comes, they might break your bones, rip your skin, and that's the mildest punishment. They might even flay you alive piece by piece. Aren't you afraid?" His words, though seemingly directed at Jiang Fan, were actually to scare Liu Wuchen and those elders willing to atone for Jiang Fan. But Jiang Fan wasn't listening to him. He was secretly communicating with the little Qilin. "Do it. Hey, did you hear me? Do it." Getting no response after a while, he looked down and found it sound asleep. Damn. Failing at the critical moment, he silently pinched its butt through the bundle. The little Qilin woke up in pain, wiggling its rear. "Get to work. Do you still want spirit pills?" The little Qilin quickly replied, "Yes, yes, of course. I'll get it for you right away." Tai Bubai didn't notice. Just looked at Jiang Fan, who suddenly froze and frowned. "Did you hear me? Are you sure you want to go to the giant sect?" Jiang Fan came back to his senses, as he was pondering how to respond. He heard the little Qilin in his head. "Got it, no problem." Jiang Fan was stunned. "So quickly, you didn't get the wrong one," Little Qilin said. "It's the jade talisman in the jade box in front of him with many seals on it." "Is that right?" "Yes, that's it." Jiang Fan was secretly delighted. The jade talisman was in hand. Tai Bubai was no longer a threat. "Did you not hear me?" Tai Bubai scolded. Jiang Fan took a few steps back, his expression turned cold, old thing. "Lower your voice when speaking in the green Cloud Sect." Everyone in the hall was stunned. They stared unblinkingly at Jiang Fan. Why did he suddenly turn hostile? Tai Bubai was also taken aback. Wasn't this kid just acting all self-sacrificing for the sect? Why did he suddenly become so aggressive? And how dare he call him an old geezer? Insolence! Tai Bubai snorted heavily. "How dare you speak to an elder like that?" Jiang Fan shouted righteously. "You're the insolent one. An outer sect elder dares to be arrogant in green Cloud Sect, dares to be insolent in front of my master. Such audacity!" The elders came to their senses. All of them felt gratified by Jiang Fan's boldness. Regardless of whether his actions were reckless, just his spirit was commendable. Liu Wuchen also found Jiang Fan a bit more pleasing to the eye. Facing an elder from the giant sect, at least Jiang Fan dared to speak up and defend his master. "Jiang Fan, don't be rude," Liu Wuchen reprimanded, but his tone lacked its usual severity. He then looked at Tai Bubai with some comfort. "Though my disciple was rude, it shows the thoughts of Green Cloud Sect disciples. Your actions today will surely incite our disciples' united resistance against the giant sect." If one day giant sect disciples suffer bloodshed, it will be of your own making. Tai Bubai, daring to extort, was not afraid of these issues. With a cold face, he said impatiently, "Enough with the nonsense. Are you protecting the person or the million crystal stones?" Liu Wuchen had already said enough. Saying more would be pointless. He immediately waved his hand and ordered the elder in charge of the sect's treasury, "Go fetch 1 million crystal stones." This loss, Green Cloud Sect would endure for now. Revenge for a gentleman never comes too late. Giant Sect would fall one day, and that would be the time for double payback. "Master, wait!" Jiang Fan called out to stop him. "How can we let such a shameless person extort us?" Liu Wuchen appreciated his spirit a bit more. He patiently guided, "In life, one must naturally stand tall with integrity. But one must also know when to yield and when to stand firm. A momentary retreat is not weakness. Unbending might not be wise. I promise you today's shame will be avenged doubly in the future," when Hong Yao also lovingly advised, "Your master is right. Life has its ups and downs. Everyone experiences lows and high times. Remember today's shame at our low point and repay it during our glory." Zhao Wuji also stroked his beard and said, "Jiang Fan, a person is like a sword. When it's time to shine, unsheath and awe everyone. When it's time to endure, sheath the sword and wait for the right moment." The teachings of the sect master and the two elders were quite enlightening to Jiang Fan. He respectfully cupped his hands. "Thank you, master. Thank you, Elder Wen. Thank you, Elder Zhao." The three of them nodded. They were quite pleased with Jiang Fan's receptive nature. However, Jiang Fan continued, "However, I want to say, shouldn't we confirm if Elder Tai really has a nascent soul one-strike jade token before we pay? We can't just believe his threats because he said so, can we?" Oh. Upon hearing this, Liu Wuchen's eyes flickered. He looked at the jade box on Tai Bubai's lap. After a brief hesitation, he said, "Elder Tai, my disciple's words are not without reason. This loss Green Cloud Sect will bear. But you need to show us that the jade token is real, right? You can't just take away 1 million crystal stones with an empty box, can you?" Elder Wen and Elder Zhao echoed these sentiments. Tai Bubai chuckled, "What's there to see? When I bid at the auction, there were many witnesses, including a great elder from your sect who saw it with his own eyes. How can it be fake?" The elders present naturally knew that the jade token was indeed in Tai Bubai's possession. Given the reputation of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion auction house, they wouldn't play along with a fake. But they were all secretly curious about seeing the jade token. Curious to see what the legendary nascent soul one-strike jade token looked like. Liu Wuchen said, "Seeing is believing." Jiang Fan also said, "Elder Tai, are you afraid that it's just an empty box and you're just putting on a show?" Tai Bubai laughed in anger. But he quickly realized, sneering, "You want to see the nascent soul jade token, right? You should have said so earlier, it's no big deal. I'll let you see it then." Saying this, he carefully removed the sealing on the jade box. The sect master and the elders present watched intently. They were extremely curious about the appearance of the nascent soul jade token, which could intimidate the nine-sect land. Jiang Fan quietly moved beside Liu Wuchen. This was just in case. After all, anyone would lose their temper finding that a treasure bought for 2 million crystals suddenly disappeared. Who knows what he might do at such a time? Staying away from him was surely the safest choice. Tai Bubai had already removed 2 seals. There were 10 seals in total. He removed them slowly, enjoying the anxious looks on the faces of the Green Cloud Sect members. As he removed the seals, he boasted, "According to our giant sect, this nascent soul jade token is not simple. It was likely crafted by an unrivaled expert on the verge of breaking through to divinity transformation. Although much of its spirit light has dissipated, it is still far more powerful than a first-layer nascent soul's attack. Anyone below the second-layer nascent soul, if struck by this jade token, will either die or be severely injured. That your Green Cloud Sect didn't buy it was beyond my expectation." Learning that this jade token had such a significant background, Liu Wuchen and the other elders glared at Feng Guchen. Green Cloud Sect had missed out on such a powerful sect-protecting jade token, and now they were being threatened by the giant sect, all thanks to Feng Guchen. Feng Guchen's face stiffened, and he felt even more regretful. Given another chance, he would buy it at all costs. Tai Bubai boasted smugly, "Bought for 2 million crystal stones. And now we've recouped 1 million crystal stones in one go. Half of this jade token's credit goes to your Green Cloud Sect." Liu Wuchen's face darkened. He shouted deeply, "Enough nonsense, hurry and open it." At this moment, Tai Bubai had removed the last seal. As he prepared to open the box, he watched out for any attempts to snatch it, slowly opening the jade box. Mockingly, he said, "Spent 100 crystals just to see the jade token. I truly admire your green Cloud Sect's generosity. As a gesture of appreciation, I'll let you have a good look at the jade token." He laughed as he opened the jade box. He glanced inside. In the next moment, the smile froze on his face, his eyes fixated on the jade box. He seemed to be frozen in place. Seeing the jade box opened, everyone immediately craned their necks, wanting to get a glimpse of the powerful jade talisman. Tai Bubai, however, was in disarray. His mind went blank. The jade box was empty, but how could this be? When conducting the transaction at the auction house, he personally opened the jade box, repeatedly confirmed it was correct, then personally closed the box and sealed it. During this process, he was the only one present. No one else had touched it. Furthermore, ever since obtaining the jade box, he had tightly gripped it the entire time. There was no possibility of it being swapped. But how could the jade box be empty? He even doubted his own eyes, scrutinizing it carefully. It was still empty. His heart felt as though it had stepped into an abyss. A strong sense of weightlessness overwhelmed him. A surge of impending doom rose in his heart. He had lost the jade talisman he spent 2 million on. How would he explain this to the sect master? The sect master probably wouldn't believe that the jade talisman would vanish so mysteriously. What awaited him would undoubtedly be the sect master's severe interrogation. Thinking of this, his face turned pale. "Elder Tai, why are you not demonstrating?" Liu Qingxian asked, craning his neck. Tai Bubai snapped out of his daze. What he should worry about now wasn't the aftermath when he returned to the sect. It was the present situation. How arrogantly, how pompously, how proudly had he just extorted Liu Qingxian. If they saw through him, then he dared not think further. He hurriedly closed the jade box and pretended to reapply the seal. Forcing himself to calm down, he said, "Sect Master Liu and the elders of the Green Cloud Sect, I just pondered over your words. I think you're right. Relying on a jade talisman to arbitrarily destroy the relationship between our sects will ultimately lead to retribution. So, let's just pretend I didn't say anything earlier. As long as your Green Cloud Sect doesn't provoke our giant sect, this jade talisman will not be used against you." Every elder present was taken aback. Tai Bubai had already swallowed that 100,000 crystal stones. Just when he was about to digest it, he spat it out, and he displayed an enlightened demeanor. Surprises aside, this was undoubtedly great news for the Green Cloud Sect. After a moment of surprise, Liu Qingxian immediately showed an excited expression, stood up, and cupped his hands. Elder Tai's consideration for the long-term relationship between our sects is indeed comforting. I will consider what happened earlier as if it never occurred. Let's just treat Elder Tai as a guest of our Green Cloud Sect. Come, serve Elder Tai some tea. The other elders also showed amicable expressions. Although they still harbored resentment towards Tai Bubai's earlier ugly attitude, the other party still had the jade talisman, which continued to threaten the Green Cloud Sect. Such a person should be befriended if possible. At the very least, they should not offend him. Otherwise, what if he demanded another 100,000 crystal stones in a fit of anger? Jiang Fan was almost amused. It must be said, there were indeed very few simple-minded people who could become a great elder. The jade talisman disappeared, yet he managed to stay calm. He even dealt with the Green Cloud Sect righteously and impeccably. If the jade talisman hadn't been stolen by Jiang Fan, he might have been fooled by this superficial act. Recalling the man's earlier behavior, how could Jiang Fan let him get what he wanted? "Master, this old thing was so arrogant towards us just now, and he deserves to be treated as a guest by our Green Cloud Sect." These words made Liu Qingxian's expression change slightly. "Shut up. Do not be rude." It had not been easy for Tai Bubai to have a change of heart. What if Jiang Fan's words provoked him? Sure enough, as soon as the words were out, Tai Bubai snorted heavily. "You brat, this elder is sparing you, yet you do not appreciate it. It's truly the case of a kind person being bullied and a good horse being ridden. Apologize to this elder at once, or else I will not let go of that 100,000 crystal stones." Such intimidation caused panic in the sect master and elders' hearts. They all cast reproachful glances at Jiang Fan. He accomplished nothing but ruined things. Did Jiang Fan think the Green Cloud Sect had too many crystal stones to use? Any admiration Liu Qingxian had for his stoic nature was immediately dissolved by his foolishness. "Jiang Fan, how can you be so rude? Apologize to Elder Tai at once." Jiang Fan genuinely admired Tai Bubai's composure. At this point, he still dared to act like this. If the jade talisman wasn't in his bag, he might have been fooled by him. "Master, aren't you curious?" Jiang Fan couldn't directly say the jade box was empty, or it would raise suspicion towards him. At that time, the sect would certainly confiscate the jade talisman, so he could only hint indirectly. Is this old thing someone who has a compassionate heart? Just before opening the jade box, his tone was still strange. Why did his attitude change abruptly after opening the jade box, acting as if he cared about the overall situation? Everyone had just been immersed in the joy of the dark clouds suddenly lifting from above. They had almost felt grateful to Tai Bubai, who had the time to think about these things. Now hearing Jiang Fan's words, they began to sense something was off. Indeed, judging by Tai Bubai's previous behavior, he was arrogant, cunning, and despicable all in one. How could such a person have a change of heart? And as Jiang Fan pointed out, he had stubbornly refused before. Not until after opening the jade box did he take a 180-degree turn in his attitude. Suggesting there's no issue with the jade box would be fishy. Liu Qingxian squinted his eyes. He intently watched the jade box and probed, "Elder Tai, could we take a look at this jade talisman?" Tai Bubai started to panic. He was fuming with hatred for Jiang Fan. This Jiang Fan, he wanted to tear him apart. It was Jiang Fan who had clamored to check the jade talisman, and now it was Jiang Fan who was enlightening everyone. On the surface, Tai Bubai forced himself to remain calm and coldly snorted. "Sect Master Liu, as a sect master you are this muddle-headed. You actually believe the nonsense of a young disciple. If you want to see the jade talisman, fine, but be prepared to give up 100,000 crystal stones." This again startled Liu Qingxian and the elders. Several elders exchanged meaningful glances with Liu Qingxian, indicating that he should not push further. There was no need to risk checking the jade box. If they didn't check, the Green Cloud Sect would not lose anything. But if they did check, and there was indeed a jade talisman, the Green Cloud Sect would suffer a significant loss. But Jiang Fan reminded again, "Master, look, this old thing is starting to bluff. This disciple seriously doubts there's anything in the jade box." Liu Qingxian squinted even more. Indeed, if Tai Bubai truly had the jade talisman, he would simply take it out to intimidate everyone and demand money. Why waste so many words? He slowly stood up and probed again. "Elder Tai, why don't you show us the jade talisman? If there truly is one, I will give you 100,000 crystal stones, no problem." This completely backed Tai Bubai into a corner. He gazed at Jiang Fan with loathing, pretending to be angry, and swished his sleeve as he got up. "You group of ungrateful ones. I will report back to the sect master, let's see what you do then." With that, he turned to leave with his hands clasped behind his back. Seeing this, most of the elders finally understood. Everything was indeed as Jiang Fan said. The jade box was empty. Liu Qingxian also realized what was happening. A surge of anger rushed to his mind. Tai Bubai had actually brought an empty jade box, boldly coming to the Green Cloud Sect to extort them publicly. Recalling his previous arrogance, his previous disregard for others, his previous mockery and outrageous demands, he was furious beyond measure. He slapped the table and leaped into the air, shouting, "Where do you think you're going?" His body soared like a great bird, immediately blocking Tai Bubai and striking him in the chest with a palm. Tai Bubai was shocked and hurriedly raised his palm to counter. But how could he be a match for Liu Qingxian, a sect master? He was staggered back on the spot by the palm strike. Liu Qingxian seized the opportunity to snatch the jade box, tear off the ceiling, and open it for a look. It was indeed empty. This made him and the elders completely at ease. Although they didn't know why the giant sect had clearly won the jade talisman, but was left with an empty jade box. Tai Bubai had indeed just tried to extort 1,000,000 crystal stones with an empty jade box. Reflecting on this, everyone felt deeply insulted. It was as if the people of the Green Cloud Sect were being treated like 3-year-olds. If it weren't for Jiang Fan's timely reminder to check the jade box, they would have been fooled. Even more infuriating, despite the jade box being revealed as empty, Tai Bubai still acted nonchalant and continued to threaten the Green Cloud Sect. If not for Jiang Fan reminding them again, the Green Cloud Sect would have believed his sudden change of heart and sent him off politely. All of this made them feel as if they had swallowed a fly. When Hangyao, with the most fiery temper, slapped the table and said, "You dog! You dare to treat the elders of the Green Cloud Sect like fools? Sect Master, do not let him go." The other elders were also burning with anger. Tai Bubai hurriedly said, Sect Master Liu, elders, it's all a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Please, let's not harm the harmony between our sects. Jiang Fan snorted coldly. When you were holding that jade box over our heads, did you care about harmony between the sects? Master, if word gets out that we of the Green Cloud Sect were so humiliated, yet let him leave unscathed. Won't any random stray presume they can try their luck? He didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. That would only make people resent him even more. But Tai Bubai already bore a grudge against him. If he didn't take this chance to cripple him, he'd have trouble in the future. And Liu Qingxian, who never intended to let Tai Bubai go in the first place, became even angrier upon hearing Jiang Fan's words. With cold light flickering in his eyes, he stared intently at Tai Bubai. To act recklessly in my Green Cloud Sect, you must pay the price. With that said, he struck decisively. Tai Bubai screamed repeatedly in terror. But how could he possibly escape, alone in the Green Cloud Sect's hall? Crack, in just a few moves, Liu Qingxian had severely injured his chest, breaking several of his ribs. Then he immediately broke both his arms. Liu Qingxian stopped, snorting, "Breaking your arms to teach you a lesson, and to show the world what happens to those who act improperly in my Green Cloud Sect." The other elders nodded quietly. Since Tai Bubai was the great elder of the giant sect, breaking his arms and giving him a lesson were enough. Severely hurt, Tai Bubai endured the intense pain, bowing and apologizing. "Thank you, Sect Master Liu, for your mercy." As he spoke, he venomously glared at Jiang Fan out of the corner of his eye. Today's events were all thanks to Jiang Fan. He vowed to peel Jiang Fan's skin off at the first opportunity. Jiang Fan felt a chill all over. He was being targeted by a venomous snake. Rolling his eyes, he said, "Master, isn't this punishment too lenient? If one of our elders took an empty jade box to extort the giant sect, would Sect Master Kong let them off so easily?" Putting themselves in his shoes, Liu Qingxian and the elders grew serious. Knowing Kong Yuanba's petty nature, when his nephew lost to Jiang Fan in a fair fight, he despicably triggered a beast tide at Beast King Mountain. If an elder from the Green Cloud Sect dared to emulate Tai Bubai, given Kong Yuanba's narrow-mindedness, he would have killed the elder on the spot. How could he show such mercy? By merely breaking an arm or two. Seeing Liu Qingxian's interest piqued, Jiang Fan continued, "Master, with the beast tide imminent, chaos will spread across the 9-sect land. During such times, people will become desperate, inevitably turning on each other. The 9 sects will likely clash as well. If we show the Green Cloud Sect as lenient and easy to bully, trouble will come relentlessly. Why not take this chance amid the approaching chaos, to use thunderous means to intimidate the other sects? Demonstrate to them that the Green Cloud Sect is not to be trifled with." This, exchanging looks, Liu Qingxian and the elders fell into thoughtful silence. Evidently, Jiang Fan's words made sense. Under normal circumstances, letting Tai Bubai go wouldn't be an issue. At worst, people would secretly scorn them as too weak. But at this critical moment, whoever appeared weak would be deemed an easy target in the beast tide. Thus, not only could they not let Tai Bubai off lightly, they also had to handle him severely, to ruthlessly intimidate everyone. Seeing the opportunity, Jiang Fan stoked the fire more, saying, "Master, Tai Bubai openly committed such a vile act. No matter how we deal with him, the giant sect won't dare utter a word. They can only swallow their teeth and blood in silence." This undoubtedly struck a chord with Liu Qingxian. He had previously held back out of concern for the giant sect's reaction. Upon hearing this, his mind became clear. After committing such a shameful act, how could the giant sect stand up for him? Reflecting on this and recalling how Kong Yuanba had instigated a beast tide, old and new grievances arose together. Liu Qingxian's eyes turned cold. "Tai Bubai, my disciple, is absolutely right. Letting you go like this would be too lenient." Tai Bubai exclaimed in horror. "Sect Master Liu, calm down, don't be swayed by your disciple. What are you doing?" "Ah, Liu Qingxian, you actually severed my tendons." As a martial artist specializing in body techniques, their physique was the most important thing to them. And once the tendons in their hands and feet were severed, they couldn't exert force, rendering their strength useless. It was equivalent to a cultivation technique practitioner having their dantian destroyed. The elders were also shocked and apprehensive. The great elder of the giant sect had been crippled just like that. Liu Qingxian's eyes were cold as he snorted, "Take him and throw him out of the Green Cloud Sect." Several disciples immediately stepped forward and carried Tai Bubai out. Jiang Fan was speechless to the extreme. With his tendons severed, why not just kill him directly? Leaving him with a breath to return to the giant sect, only to then eye you for revenge. Even though his physique was crippled, his connections and resources were still there. With a wave of his hand, he could still mobilize others to harm Jiang Fan. No way, he couldn't let him return to the giant sect. "Master, if there's nothing else needed from me here, I'll take my leave first," Jiang Fan said calmly. "Wait," Liu Qingxian revealed a smile, patting him on the shoulder. "You performed very well this time. You made me see you in a new light." The other elders also showed approval. When Hong Yao said, "Thanks to Jiang Fan's reminder this time, otherwise our sect would have lost both money and face." Zhao Wuji agreed profoundly. "Sect master, you must reward him well this time." Liu Qingxian laughed. "Of course." Contemplating, he reluctantly took out a jade pendant that shone brightly. "I owe some favors to the sect leader of the Myriad Sword Sect. With this jade pendant, you can enter the sword forest of the Myriad Sword Sect for a day's cultivation. If you're lucky, you might break through a foundation establishment level." The sword forest. Breaking through a foundation establishment level, Jiang Fan quickly took it. "Thank you, master." Liu Qingxian nodded. "If you have a chance to visit the Myriad Sword Sect, don't forget to use it." "Yes." With nothing more for Jiang Fan to do there, he took his leave. Then quickly descended the mountain to hunt down Tai Bubai. Let's talk about Tai Bubai. He was viciously thrown outside the green Cloud Sect's mountain gate. Fortunately, this time he had brought his second disciple, Sun Caozong, with him. With his strong physique, Sun Caozong's combat power was comparable to that of a fifth level of core formation expert. Waiting outside the green Cloud Sect, Sun Caozong saw Tai Bubai being thrown out, and his face changed dramatically. "Master, what happened to your hands and feet?" "Ah, your tendons have been cut," he cried out in horror. His master had gone to the green Cloud Sect, only to be tortured beyond recognition. "Shush!" Despite the extreme pain, Tai Bubai still retained his composure and immediately stopped him, saying in a low voice, "Do you want the whole world to know that I am crippled? Hurry, take me back to the giant sect immediately." After all, he was the great elder of the giant sect. Even a 3-year-old knew that he must have many valuable items on him. If word got out that he had lost all his cultivation, it would be hard to ensure that malicious people wouldn't secretly strike. Sun Caozong quickly shut his mouth. He hired a carriage, helped Tai Bubai onto it, and hurriedly left Green Cloud City. Jiang Fan arrived just in time to see Tai Bubai being helped onto the carriage. He moved silently. He followed them quietly. He decided to wait until Tai Bubai and his companions had left the Green Cloud Sect's territory before making his move. Otherwise, if Tai Bubai died mysteriously within the Green Cloud Sect's territory, it would give the giant sect an excuse to start trouble. So he followed them all the way. Tai Bubai, with his cultivation crippled, couldn't sense danger. And Sun Caozong's cultivation wasn't that strong, making his senses not very sharp. They had no idea Jiang Fan had been following them all along. 3 days later, Sun Caozong, weary from his journey, finally left the Green Cloud Sect's territory. He entered the giant sect's territory. Just ahead was a frontier town of the giant sect. There were several powerful members of the giant sect stationed there year-round. Once they entered the city, they would be completely safe. "Heh heh heh." Tai Bubai lifted the curtain and looked back at the distant Green Cloud Sect's border, sneering. "The Green Cloud Sect is full of merciful people. Since they crippled me, why didn't they just kill me? Do they think I will be grateful for their mercy after having my tendons cut? No. I will spend my entire life seeking revenge, making them pay for their blood debts." His features twisted in anger, making him appear very ferocious. Sun Caozong's face was dark. "Master, don't worry. After I take you back to our sect, I will return and secretly kill a few Green Cloud Sect disciples to claim some interest for you. I will break their arms, destroy their danshan, so that the Green Cloud Sect will regret." Tai Bubai looked gratified, then immediately thought of Jiang Fan. His expression became even more ferocious. "Starting with that disciple named Jiang Fan. He is the one who caused me to be in this state. Find out all the details about him for me. Where he lives, how many family members, how many dogs, how many chickens. Investigate everything thoroughly. I want to kill all his family members, skin them, debone them, leave them nothing. I want Jiang Fan to live in regret for his entire life." He pounded his fist heavily on the carriage wall. If it were before, a casual punch from him would have shattered the whole carriage. But with his hand and foot tendons cut, he couldn't exert any force. Thinking of this, he hated Jiang Fan even more. But at this moment, his ears twitched. He faintly heard something sharp scraping against the back of the carriage. Despite his severed tendons, his senses were still sharp. As quick as thought, he decisively lunged forward and lay down on the ground. Swoosh, a sharp swooshing sound rang out simultaneously. A black sword pierced through the carriage, stabbing inward, scraping past the back of his head. The sharp sword Qi scraped off a large piece of his scalp along with a chunk of hair, drawing blood. Tai Bubai screamed in pain. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Swoosh, the first sword strike failed. Jiang Fan kicked open the back of the carriage. He bent down and sneaked inside. Heaven and earth star fall? Without hesitation, he executed his most powerful swordsmanship. With terrifying thunderous explosions, the black sword shattered the entire carriage. Amidst the deafening thunder, it stabbed towards Tai Bubai's back. At the critical moment, Tai Bubai shouted and bent over suddenly. Seemingly like cabbage heads, his muscles bulged densely. Just as the black sword pierced his skin, his muscles squirmed abruptly, clamping down the sword blade fiercely. No matter how much strength Jiang Fan exerted, he couldn't push it further in. Jiang Fan's heart was shaken. As expected of the giant sect's great elder, even with his tendons cut and unable to attack, his defense was still invincible. Failing the strike, he pulled out his sword and retreated decisively. Bang, just as he barely withdrew from the carriage, an enormous force surged above his head. No need to think it must be Sun Caozong attacking. Heavenly battle 9 forms, sky opening. Without thinking, Jiang Fan raised his hand and punched back. Boom, the enormous force, like a mountain crashing down, instantly pounded Jiang Fan downwards. Seeing that his feet were about to be driven into the ground, turning him into a steak, to be slaughtered at will, he decisively utilized his movement technique. With a light tap of his toes on the nearby carriage, he leveraged himself and flew backwards. Bang! Just as he flew away, a giant foot descended from above, stomping on where he should have landed. The ground was stomped down to a 3-inch deep dent. If he had been stepped on, his bones would surely have broken, and he'd be seriously injured. Sun Caozong's 2 strikes failed. He looked at the mysterious person in front of him with a mask engraved with the word 1, puzzled. To take my punch head-on and not break an arm? Sun Caozong was astonished. That punch just now was full force. Even a 5th-level core formation martial artist who hadn't specialized in body refinement might not withstand it. This person was unscathed. In fact, Jiang Fan was not completely unscathed. His left hand burned with pain. Each of his 5 fingers felt like they were about to explode. If not for having trained in the iron blood true scripture, that punch just now would have crippled his arm. The grand mastery of body technique was indeed troublesome. But today Tai Bubai had to die. He had heard every word the other party said earlier. He actually planned to harm the people around him, even to the extent of skinning and deboning. Thinking of this, his eyes turned cold. Heaven and earth star fall? He thrust his sword forward, the unparalleled sword Qi accompanied by a deafening dragon roar. Sun Caozong snorted. With me here, don't even think about harming a single hair of my masters. He threw out his fists fiercely. The immense power actually materialized into Qi force, looking like a fierce tiger pouncing towards the powerful sword Qi. At the same time, Sun Caozong glanced towards the town behind him. Such a commotion here would surely attract the strongmen from the city in no time. He only needed to hold this person off to encircle him. Bang, the sword Qi and fist force collided, releasing a rebound force that pushed both of them back simultaneously. The difference was, Sun Caozong retreated step by step. Jiang Fan stabbed his sword into the ground. Using the rebound force, he gripped the hilt, spun half a circle, then flew out. The direction he flew towards was surprisingly Sun Caozong. Heavenly ruined finger. Purple energy comes from the east. At this moment, just as Sun Caozong regained his footing, he was met with a powerful finger technique. His face slightly changed. The combat experience of Jiang Fan made him feel tricky. He realized he had met a difficult opponent. He immediately raised his arms. The muscles on his arms bulged like armor. Puff, however, the heavenly ruined finger was a finger technique capable of piercing through stone. How could mere flesh and blood stop it?